Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another day, another week of 30 NSG. On today's show, we're going to be talking about a couple different topics. We're going to be talking about Skull and Bones. Testers got so bored of it. I played it myself as well, so we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about an article from Forbes called The Last of Us Faction's Disaster is a Massive Misfire from Paul Tassi. And then we're also going to watch a video from Gaming Bolt, which goes over the top 15 worst games of 2023. If you like what we do here, we do this Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning to about noon Eastern, about 1 o'clock sometimes. All depends what topics are and what we're doing. You know, if we talk about stuff and it takes longer, then it takes longer. So join me every single day, Monday through Thursday, from 10 o'clock in the morning to about noon Eastern. So yeah, good morning. Good morning. What's going on, Z? It says, Where's my Christmas snow? Well, I think you're in Florida. You're never going to get that. Travis says, so my question for today, at what point does offering content become too much? Example, several of my friends have never finished Red Dead 2, and when I ask them why, they say it's a great game. Well, being a great game and being able to complete the game are two different things, right? Right? There's a lot of people that have games that they play. They're like, oh man, it's a great game, but they just have no time to play it. So I can't really answer that question. That's a question more for your friends. What's going on, Eclipse? Travis also says, actually fun both ways. Okay, so what's going on, Dave Rose? Good morning, good morning. Rose says, I don't get why Last of Us Faction being canceled is a disaster. I think it's a great thing that they were not confident in it. Instead, putting out a bad game. Yeah, I think it's more of how long it took them to decide to cancel it. Right? I don't think it's a disaster, as the article says, but I do think they kind of wasted their time. I'll go more into that as we read through the article. Go ahead, Kylo. Last of Us Factions, all I can say is, see, I don't let the door hit you on the way out. That was a two-part message. Example, several of my friends never finished Red Dead. There's there's just so much to do. And no matter how many sides of your hunt I did, is that 2 sides? It's a great game, but there's just so much to do. Are you talking about, okay, so you're talking about Red Dead, and you're saying there's so much stuff to do in the game and hunts. I never felt like it was getting anything done. My question is, if your opinion, how do you get the hit right balance? I think the right balance for any game like that, it's everyone plays the game differently, right? So if I'm trying to think of an analogy, right? People play games differently. People do a lot of things differently, right? Some people, I'm trying to think. You read the newspaper, right? You read the newspaper. You read the articles that are interested to you first. Then you kind of read the next articles that are interesting, but not too interesting. And then, so meaning your interest categories are different than my interest categories. So playing a game like Red Dead Redemption, if people like doing the main story and they just play the main story, and other people just like doing the side quests, and other people just like doing the hunting, and other people like to do whatever. That's the thing, right? So, for instance, I played Starfield. I didn't play the main story quest, but I put 167 hours into the game, and I played all the side quests, where someone else just played the main story, and then they put the game down, right? So to say, is there a right balance? I think as a developer, you have to make a game that has many different outlets, many different things to do, and you, the gamer, get to choose what you want to engage in. Does that make sense? Dave Rose says, and they didn't want to become a live service dev, and this is not their MO, and they wanted to stay a single-player, story-driven dev. I said, when they first announced, right, and they've been working on this game for like 5 years, 6 years, for Factions, maybe even longer. But when Sony announced they were working on live service games, I said, I hope they don't take the first party titles, okay, and make the studios and start making them. I was like, because the quality will drop. And everyone's like, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. And then here they are coming out saying, well, wait a minute. If we go into this live service aspect, then we're going to have to sacrifice something with the single player games. So Travis says, so it's safe to say if hitting it on the right balance is more of it's up to the player, not the developer. So, well, it's up to the developer to make the game work properly, right? But it's up to you, the gamer, to choose what you want to partake in. That's why I think when people play Grand Theft Auto, everyone's like, I don't really like the game, but there's so much to do. There's a nice balance there for a lot of different people. Come on, sorry. Sorry, says Last of Us Online, more like offline, right? Right? No, it didn't hit well. Sorry, it didn't hit well. So I played Skull and Bones this weekend. Okay, I played Skull and Bones this weekend, and I put in some time. Okay, I put in a 2-hour off stream, and then I put about 2.5 hours, whatever that stream was. Let me bring it up a little bit here. I put 2 hours on stream and 2 hours off stream. What's going on, Water? Skull and Bones played you. Yeah, we played 2 hours on stream. Here's my gameplay. I'm gonna give you my impressions of the beta. Okay, straight up, before I even get started on my impressions of the game, you guys can go watch the last 5 years of my stream and backlogs and stuff. Well, actually, this channel's only a year old, but you can go watch this past year and how I talked about Skull and Bones, and told every single time I talked about it, I said, you need to stay away from this game. Like, don't buy this on day one. Okay, don't buy this on day one. This is not a game you need to play on day one. This is a game you need to play on the bargain bin. This is the game that you need to play if you want to try it. Get Ubisoft Plus, whatever it's called, okay, and play it for $14 for that month. Okay, do not take the money that you're going to spend on this game. If it's $60, $70, $100, whatever they're selling, go buy a different game. Go buy something else. Go get 20 coffees. I don't care what you do. Don't give them money for this game on day one. If you want a pirate experience, go play Sea of Thieves. Go play Black Flag. Okay, do not give them money for this game on day one. But hey, I don't want to tell you what to do with your money. I'm just suggesting that if you want to spend your money in a good way, go spend it on something else. Do not give money to this game at launch, because 8 months from now, 10 months from now, maybe even 18 months from now, this game will be in a better state than it is right now in the beta form. And when it launches on February, I think it's like early February or mid-February. Okay, this game is a hollow husk of what it is. Okay, like, do anything else with that $70. Anything else. Okay, so I played it. I was like, you know what? I kept telling everyone, stay away from it, stay away from it. I was like, you know what? The beta. I got into the beta. Thank you, Eclipse, for giving me the code, and then Stealth tried to give me another one, which I didn't need because I got back in. But I appreciate the codes. I said, you know what? Let me play it, because my thoughts on it were based on what we saw and the news stories and whatnot. And I said, let me give you my firsthand. So I did. I played it firsthand, and it starts off, and you're in your ship, which you don't see here because I played it off stream. But it's like a little like prologue type of thing. They start you off in a ship. You start going through the stuff, getting right off the bat into some sea battles. First thing off the top of my very first thing, I was like, this is super arcadey. Super arcadey. Now, if you like arcade type of games, the difference I can tell you is it's not a pirate sim in any way, shape, or form. So if you're looking for some sort of pirate simulator, this is not the game. Okay. If you like World of Tanks or World of Ships, okay, that type of game, but with pirate ships, that's what it is. So if you like that type of game, sure. You can see the way my guy is moving right now. I'm showing how delayed it is, like when you're actually walking. The on-island stuff feels very clunky. Very clunky. Okay? So it just feels weird. Very linear while you're on the islands. Obviously, they're not the first game to make like the menu system on an island. This is what it feels like, though. So as you're walking around, you're like, instead of going to your menu system and then like cooking, you're going to the thing and cooking. It's like the menu system that you're walking around. Very lackluster type of stuff. Lots of cutscenes, lots of stuff, but you don't really feel a sense of like you need to go talk to these people. You have to talk to these people to go do stuff. The ship controls, like I said, feel very arcadey. The fighting of the ships feel very arcadey. The loot system, the gathering system, okay, feels like an afterthought type of thing. Like you just drive over something and press Y. In my opinion, it's like, why do I even have to press Y? I can just run it over and then collect it, right, in the water, okay? But then people might say, well, what about if you don't need that material? Okay, well then, like, I can dump it up afterwards. I don't know why I have to hit Y every single time. Then when you do the mini games, there's like these little mini games. Like if you go up to saw a tree or collect materials, there's like this little bar meter that goes up. And what they do, they change it from this way to change it up. Okay, they change the actual. Let me see if I can find it while we're going up on an island. Let me see. Yep. Here you go. Right. As you can tell, the bar changes, right? Let me rewind it just a second or two, so you can see. It's like a little mini game. It's a little mini game when you pop up to the thing, right? You can see. It's like a little mini game and it changes. It's like a little meter, and then the meter will change where the green line goes to a different spot, so it kind of makes it change. And cool. You start playing off the very first of it, and you're like, this is interesting. You're over it within 10 minutes. Within 10 minutes, you're like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to play this. Okay, I don't need to do this mini game. Let me just, if it's in the water, I just go over it, hit Y, and collect it. But here I got a little mini game. Okay, so it's kind of weird, kind of strange. Everything about this game just feels like they had something really rich, but then they dumped it to make it work because they have to get the game out. Okay. Yeah, see, they changed the meter, right? It went from this meter, okay, to now going up and down, right? It's a different game. I had to do the jute compared to the palm leaves, compared to, and it's delayed. It feels very delayed when you're doing it as well. There is no melee combat in this game. When you're playing through the game, there's no shooting a gun. There's a button when you're up against a ship. It says hit the blunder, and you can hit the blunder. So you shoot the ship with the blunderbuss, but you personally don't do it, okay? There's third-person camera view. There's first-person camera view. It's cool going first-person because you get to see all the characters moving around doing their jobs and whatnot. So this is the small ship. Let me fast forward to the bigger ship. Okay. Now, what I want you to hear is all the shanties going on. Hot rod or NASCAR. Here, we'll make this. It feels very arcadey in this game. Okay, so you see all the people moving about the ship. You're stuck at the helm, right? You're stuck, which is, I wish it was a little farther back. You know, a little farther back, maybe with the camera angle. Okay, graphics are cool, right? They're great. They're fantastic. A lot of the stuff looks good, and then other times it doesn't look very good. But here's another mini game. We're pulling up to the over here to harvest the iron. Okay, this is a different mini game. All right, and this is it. This is the gameplay. Okay, I'll show you combat in a second. The combat is very lackluster as well. In a battle with like. Here's some combat. You heal with like pushing left on the D-pad. I mean, if you like combat, this is right up your alley. Okay? But all you hear the entire time you're in battle is obviously, I guess it's realistic, right? Is everyone just screaming. Your whole crew is just screaming the entire time. Right? The entire time it's just screaming of the whole thing. Anyway, the overall, my thoughts of this game after I played it is exactly how I felt before I touched the game. Okay, by just looking at what it was and the 4 times they revamped this game over the last 7 years, I felt like this game was going to be a meal piece together. It's going to be an obligation type of thing. Now, is there a market for this game? Absolutely, there's a market for this game. Okay, there's going to be people that love this game, and people are like, oh man, it's so much fun just going around. And maybe later in the game, exactly, I only played 4 hours. Maybe hour 20, maybe hour 30 when you're level up and you're in a big boat and you have all the different pieces on there. Maybe it feels better. Based on my experience of past games and now playing this game, it's not going to be different. There's going to be no difference from the lower level that you are, okay, to get into the higher levels and doing the exact same thing. It feels very empty, okay? Now, the problem with this is that when Sea of Thieves first came out, there was that Sea of Thieves had this pirate simulator type of thing. Cartoony look, but it felt really good playing it. But it was a shallow game when it came out. This is shallow in a separate way, okay? Sea of Thieves made you feel like a pirate. This just makes you feel like you're playing an arcade game. Like, they could just take this piece out, bring it to an actual arcade where you're just doing the ship battle, and, like, there's a timer, and then you have to stick another quarter in as you're shooting. That's what it feels like. It feels very, very arcadey, okay, of it. So, let's go back to, I want to show you, this is what other people are saying, okay, in Skull and Bones. Let me close my video down. All right, so Skull and Bones testers quit game from sheer boredom, okay, from sheer boredom. Skull and Bones testers shared their recent closed beta experiences, okay, from sheer boredom, finding the pirate gameplay to be rather dull and unenjoyable, okay. So Ubisoft Skull and Bones is set to arrive quite soon, and from major platforms, though the game's beta testers are sharing its underwhelming experiences after spending time with the game. 2 months before Skull and Bones officially launches, players now have an additional insight into the redesigned gameplay, which is being met with relatively poor reception. Okay, since it was the first revealed in 2017, the Skull and Bones pirate action game has seen several delays. Through the years of Ubisoft Singapore working on the game, testers were invited to try out the ever-changing title. This year's particular has seen new Skull and Bones closed betas with negative comments coming as a result for most recent trial period. Despite many delays by Ubisoft, an influx of alarming players responded indicates that the continuously postponed Skull and Bones may have not been all that fun. Now, upon posting the disappointing experience, Reddit regarding a recent Skull and Bones beta user was met with many comments sharing similar experiences and thoughts. Other testers have noted issues with the game's dialogue, while drawing attention back to the lack of certain expected features, like sword fights, naval combat, and more of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, not as much as said about the exactly improved or change. Okay, bored to the point where they quit the game just after 1 hour. So December 2023's closed beta stage for Skull and Bones has seen many negative opinions shared by the testers, like this one, which was turning beta players, noting several issues with the gameplay, and have reminded, despite multiple tests, the overall consensus of the gameplay of Skull and Bones is dull, with fetch quests and dialogue from NPCs that feel endless being just some of the problems. Now, additionally, the Ubisoft Singapore controversy is a troubling factor that players have not forgotten as a sexual misconduct. I don't care about that stuff. So as of writing this, it appears that Skull and Bones won't delay once or more Ubisoft's despite the closed betas failing and a general praise. Ubisoft Singapore seems determined to deliver a long-awaited pirate game, still with the negative reception from the testers in mind. Okay, I hate when they do that with an article where all of a sudden they're telling you about the game and they're like, it's also been controversy. Get out of here with that stuff. Okay, just talk about what the article is about. So here's the Reddit post, right? Here's a guy, some random person, okay, posted by Achilla Essa, I think that's his name. It says, I quit Skull and Bones after an hour due to sheer boredom. Okay. Ubisoft, this isn't it. The first hour of the game, there was zero combat or excitement other than the combat tutorial at the start, which didn't even work right. Okay. You just watch boring cutscenes, endless talk to NPCs, and do fetch quests. Now, obviously, each their own. Some people like cutscenes. Some people like the dialogue. We were just talking about this with Travis, earlier in the stream. What's the right balance? Some people like certain things, some people don't. They put it in the game. You get to decide what you like and what you don't like. It's literally a walking simulator, which is pretty funny considering you're in a ship more than you're walking. And then there's some reason to throw you into crafting menus. I don't want to craft a cannon. I have no idea what these items even do, or just let me just play your game. Also, the dialogue is horrible. It's so bland and sterile. Okay, it started skipping it. I almost never skip dialogue in any game. Skipping dialogue 30 minutes into the game is not what you want to see. I can confidently say that I've never played any game with the first hour as bad as this. Ubisoft, I think you forgot the part where the game is supposed to be fun. So yeah, I wouldn't even play this if it was free to play. You probably have to pay me. Just my 2 cents. And you know what? I agree. If this is a game that was free, it would really be a hard pass because there's so many other better games that are out there for free that you wouldn't even waste your time with this. But this is a $70 game. Okay, this is a $70 game unless you're doing Ubisoft Plus. Okay, this, I'm telling you, okay, take what you want for what I say, but I've been saying it for years. I said Skull and Bones is such a bad game. When it first started, it canceled, it came back, they redid it, it got delayed, they scrapped it again, they redid it again. Remember when they first showed it, it was like a multiple ship battle. That's what it was. And we're like, yeah, not that. Then they changed it. Then there was all of a sudden that you were walking on land. This game doesn't know what it is. The developers making it don't know what this game is. They were trying to make it a segment of Assassin's Creed Black Flag, but then it changed along the way. Then they wanted to make it like Sea of Thieves, but they changed it along the way. Then they were trying to make it like For Honor, but then they changed it along the way. And now we have what it is, and it feels absolutely terrible. Okay? So it's sad, but true. Some people make a game and they sell a game. Some people make a game, scrap the game, make the game, scrap the game, make the game, scrap the game, make it back, and then they have obligated to put it out because they took money from Singapore and they have to make a game. So here's my final thoughts. If you want a pirate game and you're so dead bent and going, you know what, 30, I don't care what you say, I'm still going to get this game, have fun. Have fun. For the rest of you that want to spend your money, $70 on something else, there's plenty of other games out there that you can get for $70, okay? And go play those games. Go buy those full price games and put them on your backlog. Do not buy this and put it on your backlog, okay? Don't buy this. These are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Did you play the beta test? Did you play other beta tests of this game? What do you think? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let me know in live stream right now. Please make sure you hit that like button. Please make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Go out, Sarge. Eclipse says, that's your decision as long as it's a good game. I play it isn't a cup of tea, but now if I want to play the pirate game, I would definitely play that than this. Oh, for Sea of Thieves, let me see what you're saying up above. This is what happens when you try to take the best parts, one of the best games from like 10 years ago, and make it worse. Yeah, it's amazing to me, Water. What's going on, Mo? Good morning. Do you think this is coming to Game Pass day one? I don't think it is. And the only reason I say it's not is because Ubisoft Plus has it on, it's going to be on Ubisoft Plus, right? So I don't think it's going to come out at launch day one, but I could be wrong. But I'm thinking because it's on Ubisoft Plus, it's not going to be on Game Pass day one. So I downloaded Skull and Bones and didn't try it out at all. You didn't miss much, Mo. You didn't miss much. Obligation game. Enough said. The remake of Skull and Bones will be nominated for Game of the Year in 10 years. That's right. It'll be the best ongoing game as well. But I got my friend's wife to go. Oh, this is the same week as Suicide Squad. Definitely not this game. Dodge that bullet. I mean, I don't know if she wants to buy the game. Let her buy the game. You know, I mean, if my son wants to take a fork and stick it in the outlet, after I say don't do that, you're gonna get electrocuted, and he's like, no, I don't care, and then does it. Not that my son did that, but if he wants to do that, I'm gonna let him do it. Yeah, can't tell me how to spend my fork into an outlet. I mean, if you want to get shocked, right, you'll learn your lesson. You'll learn your lesson. You know what I would have done, Travis? Oh wait, I don't know if she's buying you a physical copy or a digital copy, but if she was buying you a physical copy, I would have accepted it, and then I would have went to the store and returned it and traded in for a game I wanted. But if it was digital, then you're kind of shit out of luck, I guess. Which I don't think Microsoft would pay for it either, because they have to Sea of Thieves. Why would they put the competitor on there? It's not a competitor of Sea of Thieves. Not anywhere close to Sea of Thieves. I mean, yeah, they're both pirate games, but that's like saying, why would they put any other first-person shooter game out there? Because they don't want to compete with the other first-person shooters. Like, there's no comparison between Sea of Thieves and Skull and Bones. Sea of Thieves and Skull and Bones should team up. If Sea of Thieves, as being a real competitor, if Skull and Bones came out and it was exactly the same, just as much as any other Battle Royale is the same as the other Battle Royale, if Sea of Thieves and Skull and Bones were the exact same game, people would probably play probably would play Skull and Bones more because of the more realistic looking of it, but that's not the case. The graphics are the best part. If you like those graphics, I like the art style of Sea of Thieves. I think it's just a fun game. In my opinion, Sea of Thieves is one of the better games. Like, it truly is. Play the game how you want to play. Enjoy yourself in the sandbox game of pirates. Okay, they've captured exactly what it is, and now with the safer seas and the PvP and the story missions and all this stuff, there's something for everybody inside of Sea of Thieves. Right, Water. If it had the exact same thing, then I think people would lean more towards it. Right? There's no melee. The battling seems so arcadey. It's bad. It's bad. Kind of like how the best part of Starfield is the credits. I know you're being serious, Travis, but people that compare, like, Starfield's a game. People might not like that game, but Starfield's a game. Skull and Bones is a shill of a game. Okay? Like, Skull and Bones is not a full-fledged game. But, like, I'm surprised how good the performance is in the game. I played the PC and had no hitches whatsoever, but also been in development hell for 8 years. They announced it in 2017, Eclipse, okay? But the game's been in development for over a decade. Over a decade. Oh, that would be good, Water. That would be good. Yeah, I couldn't. I stopped playing. I stopped playing Skull and Bones because I was just like, yeah, this is it. This is not it. I didn't feel. I stopped playing Skull and Bones during the alpha or beta, whatever you want to call it, closed beta, because I was like, if I play it 2 more hours, am I going to get any more out of it? I don't think I was. You know, other people might do it. For a split second, as I'm playing the game, as I'm driving the ship, right? As I'm doing this part right here, let me show you. Right, this part right here, This feels good. Like going through the water and feeling like a pirate in first person. But I wanted to let go of the steering wheel. I want to do what Sea of Thieves does, where I can walk up into my ship and go to interact with the people on my crew. Okay? All you hear is people screaming.
I feel like playing Black Flag.
They're doing a shanty right now. Two hours in, I might get completely tired of this. Right, this looks great.
Give it a year if it survives.
Oh, I think I was actually fighting here. Here, let me go back a little bit. Right, to board the crew, you have to hit the Y button to try to grapple them, and then it does an animation when you pull up on them.
We got runners.
The water physics and like the ship stuff felt good. Okay. Come on, go to Papa. The way the ships move in this, very arcadey. I'm not looking for a pirate sim, but this is like the complete polar opposite.
Come on. Fucking missing every single
Just
time.
keep missing. Come on, Super Dave. Then you can ram them. You brace for impact. Right, so now you hook them. Boarding successful. That's it, just a cutscene. Now you got those pieces.
Like. There we go.
I like that right there, right? I hook them. Watch this.
There we go. What the hell was that? Cool.
All right. Rose says, I mean, I see people keep bringing up Sea of Thieves, but I think that game is boring as well, personally. Well, of course. I like how you said personally at the end, because that just means you're not interested in it, right? But at least in Sea of Thieves, if you want to explore islands, you can. If you want to do pirate ships, you can. If you want to do story, you can. If you want to just sail the seas, you can. You can do like so many different things. If you want to just go fish, if you want to just get off the island and explore an island, if you want to go look at some clues, if you want to do some story missions, if you want to do PvP, if you want to just grind one faction, you can do all that. Okay? And sure, Sea of Thieves has been out for 5 years or whatnot. Okay? And this game hasn't come out yet. But this game's not ready to come out yet. And yet it's coming out in 2 months. And it's a shill of a game. So this is just a full game of ship combat in Black Flag. There, you can go on islands for like depots to get quests and stuff, but most of the time it's like think of a game where think of Witcher where you couldn't get off your horse, right? Think of Witcher 3 where you couldn't get off your horse. Everywhere you are, you're just on your horse. That's what this is. You're just stuck on the ship. Sea of Thieves is not a survival game, though. Sea of Thieves is there's no hunger. Well, there is hunger, but it's not like an Ark Survival or Valheim or Legos or Minecraft. That's not what Sea of Thieves is. At least traditionally, there are things in there you have to do. You know the game is not fun when they give you 6 hours limit and didn't even finish that. I want to know why they gave you only 6 hours. Is the whole full game only 7 hours and they didn't want you to complete the game? Only 7 hours? They're like, yeah. But wasn't Sea of Thieves kind of bare bones at launch? Oh, yeah. I play tested it for 2 years, right? And I was like, there's no way they're launching it like this, right? There's no way they're launching it, and they did. Now I don't have it. I don't have the video up on this channel because this channel and the other channel I deleted all my videos. But when that game came out, Rose, I played it. I played it 2 years before where I couldn't talk about, and then once it launched, I was like, this game should not be coming out. I said it about Sea of Thieves as well. I said this game shouldn't come out for another year. Okay, and then when they launched it, it took them 3 months to put the first content in there, and when they did the first content, it was like the Deeper Seas or something like that, and then they had content after content. Not until after the first 12 months passed was the game where, in my opinion, should have been at launch. But the difference between Sea of Thieves and what Skull and Bones is doing is Sea of Thieves still had like things in the game where you could get off your ship, you can go do different things, there were story missions and whatnot. This feels like meal pieced all together and nothing is good. At least the things that Sea of Thieves was doing was good. There was just very lackluster of things to do after those main things. I put 10 hours into Suicide Squad's beta after you beat the segment, and there's really nothing to do. I just kept leveling up people because I had fun. Yeah, I played Suicide Squad, beat the alpha, and I continue playing. That's all I can say, right? I beat the small section and continued playing because I was having fun. Exactly right, Eclipse. So maybe give Skull and Bones 5 years and it'll be a completely different game. I don't even think Skull and Bones makes it 5 years. I don't think it makes it 2 years. And that's the difference. I don't even think it makes it the 2 years. I know they want to have some sort of... They fundamentally have to completely change Skull and Bones yet again for the 5th time. Because whatever they change it to now, it is not a good game. I'm not sure if it was alpha, beta. I'm not sure. I don't remember. Travis. No, it's coming out. They're in the cycle of advertising. Travis, there's no doubt in my mind Suicide Squad does not come out in February. They are advertising exactly like how I said. I said it last year with Hogwarts. Once they delayed it back in May, I said they're gonna start pushing it again in November, December, January, and it launches in February. They're in mid-cycle of advertisement. They are not canceling that game again. The fact that there is no sea monsters, I mean, you're fighting a boat. the whole time, and you can't put some sea monsters out there. Maybe there is. Maybe they just didn't put it in there. I don't want to say there's no sea monsters in Skull and Bones, but I don't give a shit if there is sea monsters. The gameplay loop is boring as hell. Skull and Bones is, if they're making a game, they need another 2 years before that game. And I don't think it makes it 2 years. I don't think it makes it 2 years. I think that game is dead on arrival. It'll be on Ubisoft Plus. People will play it. People will buy it. It will go on sale a month and a half after to try to push it out. And I don't think it gets the support. This game is making money off microtransactions and whatnot down the road. The live service type of it, right? It's an Ubisoft game. In alpha, they need at least 5 months. No, in beta, they need like 5 months. Alpha, they need like a year and a half. Are you kidding me? It all depends on if it's a closed beta, which which it was. It was pretty. I mean, that game's done. It's been done. I think they delayed it because of marketing stuff. Right? They saw how well Hogwarts did in that time frame. Now, obviously, Hogwarts did well because of many other elements. But the way they did Hogwarts, where they delayed Hogwarts, they started showing it in November. Deep dive, deep dive, deep dive, right? We're getting another deep dive somewhere along the lines here for Suicide Squads this month, right? Maybe this week? I would assume this week before we go on vacation, before they go off the studio. They probably show something this week, maybe next week, and then boom. Then January they do one more, and then it comes out February. Gaming Fire says, I would play Sea of Thieves more than Skull of Bones. Oh, for sure. I think, to be fair, I think it's an unfair comparison to compare Cyberpunk to Starfield, right? People like saying Cyberpunk's the best right now. Well, it's 3 years after it came out. Starfield just came out. So 3 years from now, let's see what Starfield is, and then compare it if you want to compare, right? Sea of Thieves has been out for 5 years. Skull and Bones is not even out yet. If Skull and Bones is around 5 years, if you want to compare the 5-year point of Sea of Thieves and the 5-year point of Skull and Bones, cool, right? But right now, Skull and Bones is not even a complete game. It's not even a complete game. Yeah, I did see that. I posted it, Akuta Papa. Avatar just went on sale. I don't expect a month and a half. I expect a week or two till a sale. It might be on sale like the second week for Skull and Bones. Yeah. Man, how bad is Starfield be that even modders are like, it's boring, I'm done? Yeah, but they also put like 200 hours in before they say they were done. But like you, Travis, they play a game for 300 hours, then complain about it. Yeah, I put 2 hours into Skull and Bones, and I know I'm done. All right, let's go to topic number 2. Topic number 2. My point is the same people who modded and improved Skyrim are nope. There's nothing in Starfield mods can't fix it. On whose thing? Are you saying that? Or the modders saying they can't fix it? Krebsy says, instead of Ubisoft Singapore helping other studios or building a real project, they made this. Sad. Yeah, Krebsy, it is bad. All the modders, Travis, all the modders are saying this, or a modder on YouTube or a modder on Reddit or a modder on Twitter came out and said, yeah, I have no interest in this. I don't know if it needs to be fixed or not. I don't play it. Then why bring it up? Like, why are you throwing hand grenades if you don't know the information? Several of the famous Skyrim modders, but no, not all. Yeah, but when let me dig into this just for a second. If a person loves Skyrim so much, and they've been working on Skyrim for like 12 years, and they're like awesome modders that love Skyrim, one is fantasy based and one is sci-fi based. Now, I'm not to say the person that likes sci-fi doesn't like fantasy, and the person that likes fantasy doesn't like sci-fi. Okay. But wouldn't that be like, I mean, they're kind of biased, aren't they? They love Skyrim so much, they're like, I'm going to go back over there. I would also assume that the modders that are making stuff for Skyrim, they make money off of the mods. Not all of them, but some of them, all right? In some way, shape, monetary value in some way, shape, or form. If it's people giving them upvotes and then they get jobs from it or whatnot, okay? So I don't think it's just as black and white as this modder says that this is not good, so that's it. There could be a person that's a modder that now gets their name in Starfield. I'm just saying. Question, what are we saying about Starfield? I don't know. We got to bring up Starfield, Mo, because Skull and Bones is less of a game, even though Skull and Bones is not even a full-fledged game. In Starfield, people just can't stop talking about it. Those modders will be back when the tools actually drop in this year or later this year. There's only so much they can do without the proper tools. Right. Krebs says, shall we look at how long it took real in-depth mods to get into Fallout or Skyrim? It's been 4 months. They already had mods in Starfield day one. One day when it launched, there was already modders already working on stuff. And released. Blame the game, not themselves? I just think modders, first of all, don't fix the game. They enhance the game. Okay? The people that fix the game are the actual developers. Todd Howard recently just came out and said that there's 250 people working on Starfield actively right now. That's more than most game companies have to make a game. And they have 250 people working on the game. Right? I'm just saying. A lot of people want to give Starfield shit, but we're 4 months in and people just can't stop talking about Starfield. I don't hear any news stories about Spider-Man 2 right now. Right? I'm just saying. Both single player games. And I don't see news stories writing about what Starfield or what Spider-Man 2 is doing. They're just done with Spider-Man 2, right? They enjoyed the game, they played the game, and they moved on. Starfield, they played the game and they just can't stop talking about Starfield. It's funny that the game is highly successful. That's the problem. I guess. Right? They just can't stop talking about it. Starfield's going to have a 10-year cycle. It's going to be rebooted for the next console like Skyrim. Oh, for sure. For sure. Insomniac is huge in news right now? Is it? All right, let's go look. Because your stupid comment of saying I'm an Xbox channel. Let's go look at it. Let's see. Where do you go to look, or what search term would you go to look? Is it Google Trends? Yeah, go to Google Trends. Let's see here. They don't have a category for, I guess it would be under entertainment, games. Yeah, let's look at the what people are searching for and all the news stories and stuff for Google Trends. The red line. Now, obviously, this is in September, but even here now, okay, even now, there's more people. Okay, Starfield to Spider-Man. Even when Spider-Man came out, which is what, here, right here. When Spider-Man came out, that was it. It's like a flat line. Nothing against Spider-Man being a good game or not. Right? Just saying, people played it, moved on. People played Starfield, and they also moved on. But yet people can't stop talking about Starfield. I guess the bad news is good, too, because people searching for Starfield to see how boring it is. That's right. They're like, I want to see if anyone else looking for Starfield. Starfield must be. Wait, let me type it in. The two most recent things from Insomniac, them being hacked by Wolverine leaks, and two, we have updates coming to Spider-Man 2 in early 2024. Yeah, but do you see how the goalpost moved? We're talking about video games, and then Travis says, look up Insomniac. Well, Insomniac's not what people are talking about. People are talking about Spider-Man 2, and no one's talking about Spider-Man 2 anymore. I mean, all the YouTubers I watch, it was in their top 5 most disappointing games. Sure. Just can't stop talking about it. That's the conversation, Rose. Mind you, I didn't bring up Starfield in this conversation. You guys kept bringing up Starfield. I'm sorry. I don't want to say you guys. Travis brought up Starfield in this conversation, right? We're talking about Skull and Bones. And somewhere we got into Starfield. I'm confused. The next topic. The Last of Us Factions disaster is a massive misfire, okay, by Sony. So it says Naughty Dog, developer of some of the most acclaimed games in the industry from Uncharted and The Last of Us 2, had a choice to make. And they could either keep slogging away at The Last of Us Factions, an online multiplayer game in the years in the making, or they could go back and making the trademark signature games. Last night, they announced that Naughty Dog has canceled development of The Last of Us factions. This happened last week, by the way, before the weekend. I think it happened on Friday. They're calling Last of Us Online. They posted a lengthy statement, and at the end, particularly a poignant passage that sums up larger issues with Sony and the wider industry right now. He says, quote, in ramping up to full production, the massive scope of our ambitions became clear. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we would have to put all our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, several impacting development on the future of single-player games. So we had two paths in front of us. Become solely a live service game studio, or continue to focus on single-player narrative games that have defined Naughty Dog's heritage. Now, I said this a couple weeks ago. Again, I'm a nobody on the internet that has very little following. But I said verbatim. I said, I hope when Sony announced their 60% going towards live service games, and they were more focused on that, I said, I hope they don't take from single-player campaign, like single-player studios, and make them work on live service games, because it would hurt the game company. Okay, everyone's like, no, they have other people working on games. Yet Naughty Dog comes out themselves. Now, Sony didn't come out with this. Sony didn't announce this, right? Naughty Dog came out and said, okay, ramping up to full production, the massive scope and ambitions became clear. To release the support of Last of Us Online, we would have to put our studio's resources behind supporting post-launch content for years. Okay, severely severely impacting development for our single-player games. And this is the number one thing I said. I said, I hope they don't make the studio do it, because then Sony fans, and you should be not okay with this, Sony fans, those of you that, sleep with the Xbox, or sleep with your Sony Xbox, Jesus Christ, sleep with your console like Sony PlayStation, or people that do it with their Xbox in the bed. They put a nice little warm towel. They're like, I love you, and they stroke it. Okay. This is bad if they would take the studio from the first party title and go, hey, I want you to make a live service game. Now, I'm okay if they take a separate entity and try to make this online live service game to work with it. But don't touch the studio that's working on single-player games, because if they're working on that, then you're not getting your Gods of War. You're not getting your Last of Us. You're not getting your Horizon games, single-player, upfront games, right? You wouldn't get it. You wouldn't get the Uncharteds. You wouldn't get those games, because they will all be working towards the live service aspect. So, this is from their words, not mine, okay? But their words now say what I said, okay? So Naughty Dog is saying outright that they're rejecting becoming a live service development to support the game, like instead of focusing on a single-player game, okay? They said also the last project of Last of Us Part 2 was one of the most award games of all time, and Sirius spawned a show nominated for 24 Emmys. All of this reflects horribly on Sony, who previously announced 60% of the budget would be devoted to making 12 live service games over the next few years. Now, that number has been cut to 6, with the other 6 delayed indefinitely, and perhaps that's now down to 5. Now, we don't know if the 6 of the factions was included in that. I actually asked that to Lono on Friday. I said, do you think that the 6 that was factions already in that number of 6, or was factions in that number of the 12 and they canceled the 6, right? Or pushed back the 6. Well, now we know it's canceled. So now there's not 12 anymore. There's 11. And we know that there's 6 games coming out in the next 3 years. And then the other 5 games now, which was 6, is still in the back burner. And we'll see what happens with these other games before it comes out with the next ones. Okay. Sony's live service push has been a massive miscalculation so far. And there's also perhaps no better example of what happened to Last of Us factions. Yes, fans certainly would be open to Factions 2, an evolution of the first multiplayer Factions subgame from The Last of Us. But what no one was asking for, expect Sony to perhaps top Naughty Dog exec trying to please Sony, was The Last of Us becomes some sort of sprawling live service game production with a season battle pass, microtransactions stretching out its indefinite future. Look, before the public hears anything, okay, the companies know what's going on. Before we heard that Activision Blizzard was being bought, they knew in the grapevine that they were taking offers, okay? Sony knew ahead of time that Microsoft was going to be buying Activision Blizzard. They knew ahead of time that they had to pivot, okay, that they had to do live service games to make up for, because they don't want to give, 70% to their competitor. They had to start making live service games so they could do this. This is why they announced it. Now, they announced it, meaning they've been working on it for quite some time. This has been worked on for years and years and years, and yet, Last of Us 2 came out 3 years ago. The Factions was in development during the process of development of The Last of Us 2. So this has been out, worked on for 5, 6, 7 years. Okay. It says Sony famously, perhaps now infamously, purchased Bungie as a major component for the live service arm for $3.6 billion in 2022. Part of the mandate was consulting with Sony's existing studios on live service projects, and reporting said that it looked over Factions and they deemed it wasn't engaging enough. And the live games is nothing less or nothing else are about chasing engagement after the team was scaled down. Infrequent updates turned out to be non-existent, and now we have the finals where the game is canceled. But this project, years in the making, well before Bungie came along, and it started development during production of The Last of Us 2 itself, production, which began in 2014. Okay, 2014, so we're talking 9 years. Okay, and it's tough to think that we could have also been a fun attached multiplayer mode of Last of Us 2 turned into a unwildly live service disaster, right? Now, it could have been just a multiplayer mode, just like the other games in the past, like Uncharted and whatnot. You just throw a multiplayer mode on there for fun. But instead, they're like, no, we need to make it a live service game. And now they kind of wasted their time, right? The development costs and stuff that they did. But you look at this, right? I don't look at this as a disaster, okay? I know some people look at this and Sony, it's a disaster that they did this. I look at this as a learning experience, right? They weren't in that space. They started throwing money into that space, and they decided that this wasn't going to pay off. But they wouldn't know that if they didn't try it, right? To say that this is a disaster because they went down this path, I look at this and go, they avoided a disaster because, yes, they spent millions and millions of dollars, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars to get this to this point, and then they canceled it. This happens all the time with video games. Okay, this happens all the time in the movie industry, in the music industry, in the video game industry. They make certain things, they film the whole goddamn project, and they do a tax write-off, right, for movies. They do the music industry, and they're like, it's a good song, but it's just not going to make the cut. It goes on the back burner. Video games get canceled all the time. This is 100% a smart move by Sony, in my eyes anyway, that them not continuing with this was a learning process of going, okay, we're scrapping this. Let's see what else we can do that we don't make the same mistakes as we made with this game in production and see what we can do. In my eyes, they looked at it and said, well, we don't want the first-party studios doing this. We want to bring in a third-party studio, which they've done for Horizons, right? Horizons, the MMO that they're making, is not made by Guerrillas, okay? That's the studio, right? Guerrillas. They have a separate company working on that game, and while the main studio is still making Horizon games. That's the smart choice. This is what I said months ago when they first announced this live service stuff. Do not get your first studios involved in the live service games because that's not what they're good at. They're good at single-player games. Leave them where they are, and then take other studios, okay, to make the other, live service aspect for that IP, okay? That would be the smartest thing to do. So this is definitely a learning experience, and I'm sorry, but you don't know that in life when you go. You don't know something is good or bad until you go do it. You don't know something is good or bad until you pay for it, okay? And these are life lessons that you learn along the way. So, in theory, it says you can understand that Sony's newfound desire to chase after live service cash. They make excellent single-player games, but those single-player games have enormous budgets and are also sold once for $70. They also may produce a $20, $30 DLC or expansion, maybe, but nothing like the money that the live service games can print. So Sony said, we want some of that. But the problem with that is they want to make all their franchises. This is not just for Sony. This is for any company. They want to make all their games. Look at Ubisoft. They want to make all their games live service. Okay? Which I think is watering down the whole thing. Okay? When you have a certain company make a live service game, they have, let's say, 10 games, but they have one live service game, I think that's better than having all your games at 10, because they look at it and go, well, if 20% make 80%, if we get 20% here, 20% here, 20% here, and all these games, but that's not going to happen. People are going to get watered down and moved on. They're going to be like, I'm kind of over this. And that's what's happening with Ubisoft right now, and that's what's going to happen with Sony. They went from having no live service games to ramp it up to 6 games in the next 3 years, or 2.5 years, are going to be live service games, okay? So it says here, what it seems to ignore is the sheer amount of failure in the space. Who succeeds and who doesn't, and how much it takes to build and maintain a game like this. The highest profile failures did exactly what Naughty Dog was on the road to do. Games like Anthem, Avengers, and Battleborn. Again, they look at as Anthem as failing as a live service game. They look at Avengers failing as a live service game. They look at Battleborn as a failing live service game. But Battleborn's a little weird in this example. But Anthem and Avengers, Anthem sold like 10 to 12 million copies. That's not a failure. They made their money off that game. Now, it was a failure as part of a live service game, but it's not a failure. Okay, Avengers, same type of thing. Square Enix Crystal Dynamics, okay, Square Enix was disappointed with the sales, okay, but they still made money off Marvel's Avengers, and Marvel's Avengers still made money. It just didn't make all the money. So yes, did they fail as live service? Sure, but it was around for 2.5 years, and people still bought the game up front, okay? So all chasing the live service ambition took to the makers of single-player games like Mass Effect, Tomb Raider, and Borderlands way outside their comfort zone. And this is what I said a while ago. I said, don't make the first-party studios. Don't make a company that doesn't make co-op shooters, looter shooters, make a co-op looter shooter. Redfall, Arcane, they were good at single-player games. And then they got tossed in something they didn't like. Phil Spencer talks about this and says, we don't want people making games that they're not comfortable making. Right? This goes across the industry, I would think. Not just with Phil Spencer and Microsoft, right? I don't think you want a guy that's like, hey, you're an expert at what? You're a weightlifting champ? Great. I want you to shoot a gun, but I'm the guy that shoots the gun is going to be in the event where he's weightlifting, and weightlifting guy's going to be shooting the gun. Be like, well, does that make sense? No, it doesn't make sense. Okay. You want the person that's an expert at doing what they do, making the game that they want to make. Okay. Now, Naughty Dog is doing the exact same thing, except skipping the step to actually releasing the game and trying to make it work for a year or two. In good decision, but it was also a bad decision to go down this path in the first place. I disagree. I disagree with the article. I disagree with them. Okay? You don't know it's a bad decision until you're in that decision. You don't know it's a bad thing until you try it out. To say that, well, they should have just never done it in the first place. Can you imagine people never trying anything or doing anything because they just feel like it's not it? Right? They had to learn. This is the learning part of it. Okay? So it also says in resulting in so much loss and money and effort, and that is entirely on Sony. Yeah, that's what happens in business. That's what happens in business. The idea that Bungie could come in, wave a wand, and then teach a bunch of single-player studios how to make a live games was never realistic. Bungie itself is now struggling with revenue and player fall-off in only the game in Destiny 2, leading to mass layoffs. I don't know if it's mass layoffs. The company had like 1,200 people. They lost 100. Creator-developer morale and Destiny is one of the biggest live service successes in the last decade, reiterating that just how hard this space can be. Now, Sony did not understand what they were getting into here, and they should have. How? How would Sony know what they were going to get into if they've never done it before? How would they know? Someone else's experience is not going to be your experience. Okay? He says, I believe that Naughty Dog wanted to make a fun multiplayer game, and I believe that they could have made that game as an original factions already demonstrated. But there's a difference between the attached multiplayer mode and taking 400-person studio known for their most acclaimed single-player games in the industry and turning them into a live service seasonal battle pass producer. I have a question. The Last of Us was a video game, and now they made it into a television show. Should they have never taken that risk? Should they have never taken that risk of making it into a movie? Because they're not in a movie, they're not in the movie industry, right? Should Neil Druckmann not have gone in that route? Because if it was a failure, you could easily write an article and say, well, it was a bad choice by Neil Druckmann and the Last of Us crew to make this movie adaptation of it. But it's successful. So you don't get that article. It was an easy choice. It was a popular game, so it's going to be a popular show. That's not how it works. Okay? To say that them choosing to go down this route was a failure, you didn't know it was a failure until it was a failure. Okay? I recognize that Sony has challenges in the industry at cost rises and other live service print money, but this plan was terrible once and suspected that this will not only be a high-profile live service failure we have from them, it's also continued down this path, the whole idea of falling apart before it even got started. I don't like that either. Like I said, I'll say it again, I'll beat that drum. You don't know. In hindsight, it's easier to look back and say, well, this was a failure. You don't know if it's a failure until you actually do it. And then you learn your lesson, right? What it is. Let me see what you guys are saying in chat. Let me back up over here. It's very active here. Two most recent things are that. I think there's a multiple reasons Starfield keeps having traction. Some good, some bad, but moving on. Starfield was the best part of Lone's Friday show. Every time I turned around being talked about, Starfield, Skull and Bones, I can only see how they're getting names confused. Mike is over here speaking the truth with over the channel protecting PlayStation with his life. Isn't Starfield a single-player game? Yes, it is. Nothing is burning, and they just choose to not be a live service dev and stick with them, but the Sony is still market leader. They're also busy working on The Last of Us 3 and the new Uncharted. What is there to talk about with Spider-Man? The game wasn't built to talk about for months in Starfield and Skyrim. Grace says this is also going to argue the topic over feelings. This is a gross mismanagement by PlayStation. I don't know if it's a gross mismanagement. I don't think so. I think it evolved. I mean, look at... Speaking, Vandal, of Skull and Bones, look at what Skull and Bones started as, and look what it ended up as right before it comes out in 3 months, or two months, right? Skull and Bones scrapped and started again, scrapped and started again, okay? And it's just not going to work out for that particular game, okay? But then there's other games that did the exact same thing, right? Where they did something, they made the change, and it worked out. Perhaps, let's look at Fortnite. Fortnite worked on a game for 7 years to make a single-player PvE, or I'm sorry, a PvE co-op experience, and it bombed, right? So, looking at hindsight, show, oh, well, Fortnite, it was smart for them to go Battle Royale. They didn't know that. They didn't know that at the time. And now they look at it, and it's freaking genius move, right? Genius move. So, which one on, Luke? Canceling games, defunding games, firing people, no roadmap. Also, want Grounded made by 13 people. Right. PlayStation's 100% on fire. They're burning bad. I don't know if they're burning bad. I just think when you start something new, there's going to be learning stages. And they've never been in this position before, and now they are. They're learning. You got to spend money to learn. Right? How many people, show of hands in chat, how many people went to college under one circumstance of, hey, I wanted to be a business major. Hey, I wanted to do this. And none of you are in that field right now. That's an expensive mistake. Mismanagement would be continuing development of releasing a product, and then they know it would be able to support and wouldn't perform well. Example of this is Redfall and Forspoken. Man, I wish they could have just released a simple game mode in Factions, was instead making a whole live service and canceling it. I loved Factions. I mean, here's the thing, though, Sane. You got to look at it, and we don't know the back end of this. The first Last of Us, maybe it was a cool mode, but then they were like, was it worth doing what it was in the long run? And they said, well, why don't we make it into Factions where it's a live service aspect? Look at all these other live service games making money. It's a good franchise. It's got a good name. Maybe we can do something like that. And then now it's just scrap. They're moving on. Maybe Factions will be part of Last of Us 3 when it comes out. 9 years of development, nothing to show, but from PlayStation's best studio is 100% disaster. I beg to differ. I don't think it's a disaster. I think it's a costly mistake that they now learned their lesson, and moving forward, they'll do better. It's a single-player game. How can it be a disaster? How can it be a disaster when The Last of Us 2 and 1 have sold so many copies of games, and now there's a TV show that's 24 Emmys nominated? Okay? Like, I don't think that's a disaster in any way, shape, or form based on that, on the IP. 13-person grounded team is better than ND or Naughty Dog. Travis has already came out. It was Platinum fault. Xbox got the blame for it. Yeah, Platinum Games is the one that made, if you guys are talking about Scalebound, is that what you're talking about? Yeah, Xbox doesn't cancel games. They just put it out even if it's shit. Well, it's a completely different business model, right? Sony's model is to put great quality out for single-player games, right? And just remember, all of those that defend Sony, majority of your player base does not play your first-party single-player titles. The majority of Sony PlayStation owners don't play the single-player first-party titles. Just saying. Travis says, "What? I'm getting down to the chat as you guys are speaking. I'm going backwards here. What I don't get is why you would just pick The Last of Us, Uncharted Thieves competing against each other. A far better setup than the greedy, zombies. I mean, it is what it is." Who says everything will be one day? I don't know what that's answering to, Luke, and I won't know probably until I scroll down. Neil Druckmann was out here a year ago hyping up factions. He lied to you. That isn't a good thing. Topic Skull and Bones. Let's talk about Starfield topic for Last of Us. Let's talk about Platinum Games and Scalebound. Next, let's talk about Hogwarts to go on to Elden Ring. That's right. Everyone has to make examples of other things, Krebsy. Nine years before they realized the game was bad is not a good thing. So what's happening with Skull and Bones? Skull and Bones is not a PlayStation game or an Xbox game. That thing's been in development for 10 years, and they're releasing it. And they still don't know it's a bad thing. That's the industry. The difference between Naughty Dog, what they're doing, and Sony is doing compared to other companies is that they made so much money off The Last of Us, they don't need to release this. Where Skull and Bones has a obligation to Singapore, they have to release the game. People have to release games to try to recoup something. Last of Us doesn't need to do that. I see you guys. Skull and Bones doesn't have a core audience. How's about a pirate game connected to a Bethesda game, space game? Isn't saying sweet corn is connected to the price of Apple stock. So sad this game got canceled. Travis Starfield isn't losing a core audience. You don't know what it means. You got to take a risk in gaming industry or it just becomes a stale, in my opinion. I agree with you, Rose. You got to take risks. And to hindsight's 2020, man. You don't know it's a bad choice until you actually make that choice. That happens with life all the time. Let's see what you guys are saying here. What's college? Okay, so I know where I am now. Redfall is still being worked on. 9 years is nothing to the show. The factions is a disaster. Yes, learning experience and a disaster can both be true. Yeah, but why is it a disaster? Why is it a disaster? I mean, I would have to look at their books, Vandal. I would have to look at their books to see how much money Last of Us did and how much money they put in towards this. How many people were working on this game? Travis says the problem with the industry is a simple one. You have idiots who think, oh, well, Bethesda, Rockstar, Sony, Xbox cares about me, and I want no companies caring about the consumer. All right, I think I'm all caught up. Yeah, I don't think this is as bad as everyone's making it sound. Sure, outside looking in, this is a disaster. World is falling. Sony's crushing. They have so many problems. But you got to remember, Last of Us is 3 years old. Last of Us 2 is 3 years old. They're having a remaster come out, what, next month? They're still making money off of the actual franchise. And Factions, if it was just a game mode on The Last of Us 2, people would still be playing it. Not very many people would still be playing it, but it would be there. And, yeah, we would move on with our lives. We wouldn't even be talking about this. But because, you know, PlayStation's losing their Factions, I think a lot of people are upset because they have nothing to play. I don't get it. Like, this is a game mode that majority of the population wouldn't even play. And they made it a live service aspect. And it's a good decision by the studio to go, you know what? We shouldn't be doing a live service game because we're not a live studio company. Right? 1 out of every 10 games, I'm making that number up. I'm just saying, like, as so many live service games come out, 1, maybe 2 make it, and the other 8 to 9 go bye-bye. I'm saying, Vandal, if it was in the game, it would just be a multiplayer mode. That's what the article was saying, right? He said they could have just had a game mode in there and people would have been played it, okay? But they made it. They had to make it a separate live service to update it with season passes and battle passes and microtransactions. And I just don't think. I think they made a good choice. I think they made a good choice because I said this months ago when they announced the live service games. I said, I hope they don't have their main studios making the live aspects of these IPs. I said, I hope they get other studios to work on these IPs for the live service aspect, because if I was a PlayStation person, I would be worried. Okay, I would be worried if the first party title was working on a live service aspect when they were not a live service studio. Here you go. I mean, this is quote from them themselves. Okay. From themselves saying it. Okay. It would take way more than the studio's resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, which they don't have. Okay. I would hope that I'm a person that has no personal industry of besides being a game tester for EA back in the day. Okay. I'm not a game designer. Okay. I just been playing games I'm 45 for 42 years. Okay. Since I was 3 years old, I've been playing video games. Okay. Plenty of you have been playing games for decades as well. You know what's a good game. You know what's not a good game. It's mind-boggling to me that studios like this look at this and go, oh yeah, let's take everyone that doesn't know what they're doing and put them behind a live service game when all our money is making single-player games. And then they have to come out with a statement like this. Okay, this is not from Sony. This is from Naughty Dog. Right? Ramping up to full production, the massive scope of our ambitions became clear. To release and support The Last of Us Online, we have to put all our studio resources behind supporting post-launch content for years to come, severely impacting development of our future single-player games. How does a guy who's not in the industry, besides talking about video games, know that was a problem and they didn't? A multi-billion-dollar company not know that was going to happen? Beyond me. Beyond me. If anything, would be this show that the Sony is doing well, since they didn't need to release the product in the state of art, or that they aren't okay to recoup the cost and would rather eat the money lost, right? Because they made so much money off the franchise itself already. If the players saw the number of canceled games, they never saw the light of day. They would have a riot. Oh, for sure. There's from a movie industry standpoint, Travis, there are so many movies that are canceled and never even speak of a word that get canned and put on a shelf that no one knows about. You have no idea how many movies get canceled a year. It took them 9 years to realize what's this post? What's in post? Vandal, and I agree with you. I don't understand how it took them this long to figure it out. Let me answer the that suits and degree. A degree doesn't mean you're an intelligent. That suits and the degree doesn't mean you're. Sergeant is kind of the thought, but his friends say will also come back and play the story. But I'm also not. You're not going to get a true experience. Play the new remake. Levels are way better. Right? They're going to make their money off of that, the remake. For 100%. Thank you very much for the new subscriber. Mo, why do you keep saying Grounded is doing great? What? Are you getting paid by Microsoft every time you say that? Sarge says, I'm truly amazed at how many people fall for the same BS talking points to buy a game day one pre-order. Yes, he's getting paid. I hope it's a lot of money. Hope it's a lot of money. Do they give you free Game Pass every time you say it? Grounded's doing fine. 1 month. Grounded is doing fine. That's 2 months. Grounded was a failure. Grounded... I don't understand what people think of... What is a failure? I'd like to know the definition of failure for you guys. I want to know what the definition of failure is for you guys. What's a failure? I have a question. Those of you that said, I don't know who it is. Who said Grounded is a failure? Who said it? Let me back up. Who said it? Mo said it was a failure? Why would Mo say it's a failure? I'm saying, why can't top-notch studio like Naughty Dog get factions done when Grounded had 13 developers do it? Well, one's a live service game and the other one isn't. Grounded's not a live service game. They're not selling microtransactions or anything. They're selling a game, and it was in development for 2 years. Right? Not a live service game. No Man's Sky, 7 years later, is a fantastic game. That's an ongoing game, not really a live service game, because live service means that they're charging for stuff, and they're not charging for anything but the base game. Right? And they worked on 2 other games in that process. Right? They had the Campfire and then Light No Fire. No Man's Sky was originally a failure. It wasn't originally a failure. It was very successful. It was just disappointing, right? Akuda Papa? They made so much money off No Man's Sky when it first launched. It wasn't a failure. Like, we're talking financially or we're talking perceptive? They made so much money from the launch of No Man's Sky that they literally don't have to charge anything to this day. Think about that. They made so much money because their studio is so tiny, okay, that they made so much money from their original launch that they never have to charge. Exactly. No Man's Sky was overpromised, not a failure. No Man's Sky was a disappointment on release, not a failure. Originally a failure, not that it's successful as lots of sales because Sony, but after a bit of its player base was super low. After 2 years, new release, increase in player base. Well, they couldn't say anything until after the 2 years. Did you notice that? Sean Murray went dead quiet for 2 years. until the contract ended with Sony. And then when he came out, they dropped a slew of updates. It wasn't a failure. $4,000 people are playing Grounded right now just on Steam. I wouldn't call that a failure at all. No. I apologize, Kudabop, for not reading your full thing. But sometimes the chat goes by me. Here's what I think happened with factions. It was going to be post-launch update of Last of Us 2. Sony started to think about getting into live service and asked Naughty Dog to make factions into a standalone. This is an extended development cycle of factions, and Naughty Dog didn't fully understand what it would take to make factions till now. Yeah, but they said they worked on factions since 2014, since the launch or since the development cycle of Last of Us 2, right? When they were working on it alongside. They could have released it at any time in the last 3 years. I hate hearing we want our No Man's Sky moment. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that, Travis, when everyone's like, oh, we can have our No Man's Sky moment. No, don't put yourself in that position to have a No Man's Sky moment. Like, come out complete. Make a game, sell a game. Stop putting a game out there and then, well, in 3 years from now, it's going to be a fantastic game. Great. You'll get my money 3 years from now. Maybe. Like, failures would be, what was that, Babylon Fall? Right? That's a failure. Right? That's a failure. What other game was a failure? Right? Gollum's a failure. Kong, that's a failure. Day Before, that's a failure. Right? When the studio closes 4 days after they launch their game, that's a failure. All of you people that have to throw in stuff like Starfield's a piece of shit and this game's a piece of garbage. It's like, that statement's a piece of garbage. Final Fantasy 16, according to Square Enix, was a failure. I said that the other day. In Discord. Let me see. Let me bring up my statement in Discord. What did I say? Oh, right. It was in submitted stories. We were going back and forth, and they had Final Fantasy, right, 16, and everyone. I remember when it came out. Final Fantasy 16, and we saw the sales, 3.3 million, right? Everyone's like, "Oh, it's super successful," and I started laughing. I was like, "Wait a minute, how is that successful?" But yet 3.6 million of Avengers, I think, sold. I think it was like 3.6 or whatever it was. Marvel's Avengers sold 3.6 million, and that was an absolute failure. Because somewhere in our heads, we're like, well, Marvel's Avengers should have sold like 15 million copies, right? So 3.6 is right? Final Fantasy's been around for decades. It sold 3.3 million. Everyone's like, oh, super successful. Marvel's Avengers sells 3.6 million copies. They're like, that's an absolute devastated. It's an absolute failure. And it's like, well, which one is it? 3.3, 3.6, they both make the same amount of money, right? They both made money. Right? If Suicide Squad doesn't make one sale, not one sale, but Xbox puts it on Game Pass day one, the money they paid for it based on the leaked information during the court case, $250 million, that is selling 3.2 to 3.5 million copies, the amount of money they're giving if they put Suicide Squad day one on Game Pass, right? Didn't factions, the multiplayer mode, get added to Last of Us 2013 and 2014? And then it could also have been in the framework, would also be landed on the Last of Us 2 turned standalone live service. Perhaps, based on what the article with Paul Tassi was saying, Krebsy, he says that the game was the game mode was in production in 2014 when the game Last of Us 2 was being made. Avengers should have sold because of the IP. I guarantee the Avengers has more eyes on it in Final Fantasy. Doesn't matter though. Doesn't matter, Travis, because we know that the price of I think it was like $100 million to make the game. I think it was like 100, 150 million, something. I forget like that. 100. I want to say it was like between 100 million, 130 million to like 150, 180 million, something like that. So let's just say 100 million to 180 million. Okay. And then it sold 3.6 million that we knew of, because we know for a fact at least 3.6 million copies sold at launch. Full price at the 3-day early access. People paid $80 for it, whatever. This is before the price increase of the 60 to 70, so it was $60. Okay, and then we know a lot of people bought microtransactions for the suits and stuff. Okay, 3.3 and 3.6. Reverse the roles. If Marvel's Avengers sold 3.3 and Final Fantasy sold 3.6, they still sold 3.6 for the price tag of what it made. Twisted Logic says, is the live service bubble starting to burst? I don't think it's starting to burst. I think the logic behind it, is that there's more live service games, right? Before there was less live service games. It's almost like getting onto Twitch, okay? As a content creator, if you were on Twitch in the very beginning and people started finding the streamer, they became bigger streamers because they were the first there, okay? If you were a live service game in the early days, people liked you because you were the first, and now other ones came into the market, and now there's like a saturation of live service, okay? So I don't want to say that the live service bubble is bursting. I just think there's more live service games out there that are failing because you're saturating the market with live service games, and there's more failures now than there's success because obviously the numbers goes up. Before there was 5 live service games, 5 came out, 5 are successful. Now you have 15 live service games come out, 2 make it, and the other 13 fail. So you're seeing it more as the live service is busted because there's so many live service games. Look at MMOs. Are MMOs dead? No. But there was a time where MMOs were coming out, so many MMOs, that there's only a couple that make it. Everyone else just goes to the wayside. I have to say, I really appreciate you for not banning everyone that doesn't agree with you. This is actually a debate, unlike the other daily talk show streamers. And I'll say this, okay? The way people run their own channels, okay? And I know you're talking, you're being very, I know who you're talking about. Right? I don't like other people talking about I will not ban anybody. Right? I will quiet people, okay? Meaning I time them out and stuff like that if they're being annoying, okay? But I don't like talking about other people's content and stuff like that. That's not what my channel is about. If you like my content, cool. If you don't like my content, cool. But I don't like talking about other people's or about them. If you like them, if you don't like them. You understand what I'm saying? Not because he's my friend. It goes to anybody across the board. You came in here and talked about Dr. Disrespect or Asthma Goal. I don't know them personally, but I don't want people talking shit about other people, right? That's not what my community is about, and that's not what my channel is about. And I'm not saying that you're doing that. I'm just saying, just in general. It will be interesting to see what happens when Bungie gets taken over by Sony. If Destiny dies, who's going to take over? I would like to see... I love Destiny, the original Destiny. I don't like the company Bungie. For me, just as harsh as my statements were about Fantastic when I said they should be closed down, I'm okay if Bungie goes away and Sony takes over. I will not lose sleep in my eyes at all. I'll still rub the crust out of my eyes when I wake up in the morning, right? I'll sleep just fine if Bungie gets taken over by Sony or not, right? Because I always find it funny that people always protect Bungie. Bungie does no wrong, okay? And literally, the entire time, Bungie is the problem. People didn't see it, and now more people see it. Marvel's Avengers, who released multiple nearly fully saturated platforms, Final Fantasy 16 released on one, doesn't... This is what Water said in Discord. I don't give a shit if you sold 3.6 million on 15 platforms or if you sold 3.6 on one platform. It doesn't matter. 3.6 million and 3.6 million is 3.6 million. That's the money that they made off the thing. Doesn't matter if it's on multi-plat or not. They sold 3.3, 3.6 million. I am not going back to the final shape, Water. I'm not going back. I have no interest in Destiny. Travis says, I hated Bungie before it was cool. I hated them after Halo 2. Phil saw Bungie's troubles and said pass. Vandal, I had a video. I had a video years ago on my other channel, on 30 and Still Gaming, not 30 NSG. Okay? And I said that Microsoft was going to purchase Bungie. Okay? And obviously that didn't happen. But I also said, that Microsoft didn't want to pay what they paid, and that they went to go buy Bethesda instead. Okay? I said, and then it came out later that they did make an offer to Bungie, and Bungie was overvalued. Okay? And I thought it was funny. Everyone's like, well, Bungie wouldn't go back to Microsoft. Oh, they would go back. Okay? Because Bungie has problems with money. Bungie is that friend of yours that always like, hey, can I bum that? Can I borrow this? Can I do that? Right? That's what Bungie is. Bungie can't do stuff on their own. They always need a big brother, a father, a mother. They need someone to help them along. Okay? I said it from the start, and I was so happy when it came out that they had the problems, right? Even when I was in I've never been a big streamer, but I got to hang out and talk to a bunch of streamers and whatnot at conventions and different things, okay? Nobody ever knows about me, okay? But I never liked them. I liked people at Bungie, but the company itself, I never liked, okay? I shouldn't say never liked. Didn't like them since 2015. I knew who they were, and it's almost one of those things, right? Don't meet the people that you don't meet your heroes. Bungie's never been my hero, but I love Destiny. And then Bungie made Destiny. And then I talked to people at Bungie, and I like the people at Bungie, but the all business of Bungie, I was like, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this company. Right? And now they're being exposed a little bit. So I'd be okay if Sony washed them up. I'd be like, all right. But I still think that in some way, shape, or form, Bungie will try to wiggle their way out to separate again. To look for another sugar daddy. Bungie is valued about 1.2, 1.4 after subtracting fees and keep employee debt, etc. Bungie has always been a words of a mermaid man. Evil. Evil. Whatever happened to Outriders? Outriders made a game, sold a game. Outriders was never a live service game. You can go play Outriders right now. Go play Outriders, right? It doesn't matter if there's 100 people playing. It doesn't matter if there's one person playing. It doesn't matter if there's a million people playing. Outriders came out, made a game, sold a game, and they had a DLC. That was it. It's a single-player co-op game. Outriders was never a live service game. And everyone's like, oh, thank God. Oh, praise Jesus. It wasn't a live service game. They came out and they're like, oh, man, I wish it was a live service game. Give me 1 second, chat. Give me 1 second. All right, sorry about that. Outriders was good. Hopefully Outriders 2 is better if they make one. They had issues with that because of the deal they made with Square Enix, right? Then the question to ask is, who is the idiot who signed the agreement for Sony to take over the profit markets aren't met? Whoever did that deal, I'm telling you right now, it's almost like the deal that they made if you were like a crackhead, right? It's like you're desperate for like buy something and you're like, yeah, just give you everything. Like that deal that they made with Sony is the worst deal ever. How did they get that deal? They were they're like, we need the money bad, man. We need the money bad. Oh yeah, we'll take whatever, Sony. We need that money bad. I don't know what they were doing at Bungie when they signed that deal. It was strange. It was a strange game because it felt like it should have been a live service. Right, and they made their point before they even launched the game logic. They were like, this is not a live service game. Everyone's like, are you sure? Are you playing a trick on us? Are you sure this is not a live service game? Bungie probably signed the deal because they had $300 million debt and no way of paying it. I have an idea. I had an idea, Krebsy. Maybe they wouldn't be $300 million in debt if they were going for the 20%. If they just made a game and sold that game and didn't overpromise and underhype, or I'm sorry, underpromise and overhype. I said that backwards, right? I think they would have made their money. Oh, I agree, Void. My energy level is completely different standing than sitting. I like it. I like it. I feel good too after I'm done with the 2.5 hours. I sit down. I have a little. The first couple days, my back hurt a little bit from standing, but I love it. Ebsy, I forget if you watched me back then. I know you've been here for years. But do you remember when they first announced? Remember when they first announced the 208,000 square foot thing? I was like, "Who the fuck is building a 208,000 square foot place?" And then 2019 hit and 2020 with COVID, and I was like, "Who's building this? What are they doing?" Everyone's like, "Well, they gotta keep their lights on. They gotta keep their lights on." Yeah, you might have not have built that building. You would have had a lot more money in your fucking pocket, you idiots. Like, we need this 208,000 square foot place. And everyone's like, we need to work at home. Yeah, just keep building it. Yeah, just keep building it. Talk about being idiots. You think Sony with Naughty Dog was idiots building that game for years? They continued building the 208,000 square foot place they couldn't afford. They're like, oh no, we'll just rent it out afterwards. We'll sell it. They went from a 80,000 square foot to 2.5 times their size. And I believe they still have the 80,000 square foot place because they built it on top of it. So they went from 208,000, right? Plus the 80. So you have 288,000 or 296,000 square feet. Like, if you go down the rabbit hole, Krebsy, thinking about all the stuff they've done, no wonder they were selling $200 fucking leather jackets or jackets for raids, right? I think they want to be the next Epic Games. Sure. Right? But at least Epic wanted to be Epic, but they said, you know what? We're just going to make these games that we're making. And then all of a sudden, Fortnite took off, and they're like, man, we're making a crap ton of money. Maybe we should invest this money into something, right? Epic won the lottery. Epic won the lottery. They worked 8 years on Save the World. It died in less than a month. And then 3 months later, they made Fortnite BR, and the rest is history. The rest is history. Everyone wants to talk about No Man's Sky comeback. How about a Fortnite comeback? Right? No Man's Sky had to wait 2 years to make a comeback. Fortnite did it so fast, people blinked, and they're like, wait a minute, this is a Battle Royale game? And I was like, what's the Save the World game over here? Well, Bungie's CEO needed a work gym and a sauna, so I understand that investment. Yeah, and don't forget their own barista. Their own guy making coffee for them. I can go for a coffee. Make a coffee. Be Fortnite, not No Man's Sky, but it hurts my soul, but it's true. Fortnite killed PUBG, which always makes me laugh. Well, they didn't kill PUBG. PUBG is still popular. They just nudged their way into their profit margins. PUBG is still going. Then let's take the content away from the fans and they paid for, and it makes the jaded not to spend. Well, think about this, right? How many of you in chat, and be honest, how many of you played Destiny 1, right? How many of you played Destiny 1? There's only 30 of you here, right? How many of you played Destiny 1? Put like a 1 in chat or whatever, right? Vandal says I played about 20 hours. That's still good. Still good. Right? You played 20 hours. You played through the campaign, basically. Some of you are probably at work or whatever. Anyway, now, how many of you played Destiny 2? Right? How many of you played Destiny 2? That played Destiny 1? Right? Now, how many of you stopped playing Destiny? Of those that played 1 and 2, stopped. Like, you just stopped. You just, whatever it was. If you stopped 3 years ago, if you stopped 2 months ago. Right? All of us stopped for a reason. For whatever reason. If it was, we stopped because we just didn't like the gameplay anymore. We didn't like the loop anymore. We didn't like what Bungie was anymore. Okay? They lost the core of their gameplay. Right? The core group of their gameplay. Not the gameplay itself, but like the core of us. They lost of their audience. The core audience. Okay? What happened to Destiny, what happened to Bungie is the same thing that happened to Star Wars, to Star Trek, to Doctor Who, to Lord of the Rings, right? The company that got successful from the people that made them successful betrayed the people that made them successful, right? They looked at the other side of the fence and they said, that grass is greener on the other side, and they went that direction. Right? If you asked me 4 or 5 years ago, would you ever stop playing Destiny? I would have been like, no, man, I want to see this through the end. And now I don't give 2 shits about the final shape. I don't care. I don't care about the story. I don't care about the character. I don't care. I don't regret my time in any way, shape, or form. I love Destiny. Love Destiny 1. I had almost 2,000 hours in the first 3 years. right? And then I had 1,300 hours in the next part, okay? I just stopped. Cold turkey. It's like I literally fell off a wagon. I was just like, I'm done. Right? Everyone looks at Marvel's Avengers as a failure, but I want to thank you, Marvel's Avengers. I want to thank you, Crystal Dynamics, because if it wasn't for Marvel's Avengers coming out, I might be still playing Destiny. But because Marvel's Avengers came out, it got me away from that company. Okay? Division greater than Destiny. You know it's true. I like Division. Even though me and Sarge talk shit about Division 2, I just feel like they could do a better effort of what they're doing. They're doing like low-hanging fruit tier type stuff for Division 2, but I like Division 2. I think Division 2 is a great game. I'm looking forward to Division 3, but I'm not looking forward to the cash grab of Division Resurgence or Heartland and stuff like that. There's surprising games that come out, okay? There's surprising games that come out that I didn't even know I was going to like. Like Lego Fortnite, I'm really enjoying it, okay? There's Lord of the Rings, Return to Moria. I'm enjoying that. I'm looking forward to Suicide Squads. I'm looking forward to that Transformers game, whenever that comes. I'm looking forward to Outriders. That's because someone said Outriders earlier. Outlaws, Star Wars Outlaws, right? There's those games that I'm looking forward to. And then there's the sleeper hits that I might not play 1,000 hours, but like RoboQuest, that's a fantastic game. Okay? I got like 20, 25 hours into that game already. Marvel saved Mike's life. Reach out to Marvel's hotline if you need help. No, seriously. And I've always said it though, Vandal. I know you're new in my channel, but I always said, oh, RoboCop was amazing too. Thank you, Travis. Right? Vandal, when I was playing Destiny, I said, man, I wish they came out with a game just like Destiny, but with Marvel's, Transformers, or Star Wars. And now we're getting a Transformers game that's like Destiny. We got a Marvel's game that was sort of like Destiny, and I'm glad that came out because I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. I need a new Destiny. Hopefully a Star Wars game. Look, if Destiny came out, or I'm sorry, if Star Wars came out with exactly the same problems and everything as like Destiny, I would like it more just because it's in the Star Wars universe. I would. Speaking of, let's watch this video. It's 10 minutes long. Make sure it's not on. Yeah, it's on normal. I want to go to the next topic, which I'll talk about a lot here. But it's noon. I want to get it to the next subject here. We're going to watch Gaming Bolt's video of top 15 worst games of 2023. I think this should be fun, right? This will be fun. If you guys like the content that we do this Monday through Thursday, 10 o'clock in the morning to about noon Eastern, 1 o'clock, all depending. And just a nice little laid back, right? I chat it up. I read chat. You guys are going back and forth, right? We have conversation. This is not a Sony Pony channel. This is not an Xbot channel, right? You guys can be those things, but I am not those things. I like video games. I like talking about video games. We talk about news and stuff like that. So if you like that, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. All right? You know, Jones, I can't unsee what you just said. Now I look at my screen, and now it's just dripping of it. No, it's because I'm in Florida, and the snow doesn't come, so it's just melting. Yeah. All right, let's start this off.
2023 has been a year full of stellar new games, but no year is ever left unmarred by astoundingly bad releases, and this year has been no different either. From massive AAA titles that have failed to live up to expectations, to smaller releases that were so...
I mean, it's always sad, you know what I mean, when you hear someone...
bad, they pretty much forced everyone to sit up and take notice. The last several months have seen a number of games that have stood out purely on the back of how bad they've been. Here, we're going to talk about 15 such games, starting with the best of the worst and counting down to the absolute bottom of the barrel. Number 15, NBA 2K.
Was this a bad game this year? I know it was bad in the past years NBA 2K because of like the microtransactions, the gambling and stuff that was going in.
2K24. NBA 2K24, like the vast majority of its predecessors over recent years, is an incredibly frustrating game. On one hand, there's no denying that purely as a
I have to say, the graphics of that look crazy good.
basketball simulator, it's a high-quality product with a solid, mechanically tight, and addictive gameplay loop, while there's no shortage of content on offer either. And yet, in spite of those strengths, the series continues to descend deeper and deeper into the microtransactions hole, and those issues are still as prevalent in this.
Dog Gaming, we don't know an actual date yet. There's rumors, take it with a grain of salt, that it'd probably be a summertime. I believe, because the toys are out now for the game. So it's sooner rather than later. I think there's going to be an early access or beta, closed beta or whatever, sometime early next year. And then summertime, I believe there's I can't look it up right now, but I believe there's a animated cartoon coming out, movie next year during the summertime. So they might correlate it with that. Not sure though.
This year's game, as they have been in recent years, if not more so. Number 14, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. If there was ever a year to prove that Call of Duty should be done with, this was certainly.
Here's the thing. Call of Duty is always going to be the greatest on the list, right? As far as most people buying it, most people playing it, whatever. I've been done with Call of Duty. I had fun when we played the DMZ, the free, and I played Warzone a little bit. It was fun. But when I was playing the battle, what's the game mode? It's just called Battleground or whatever. What was the bigger mode with the tanks and stuff on the board? You guys will let me know in chat. When I was playing that, I had fun, but I would rather be playing Battlefield during that type of stuff, right? I know you guys like the zombies and stuff, but Call of Duty to me, if people stop buying it, it would be a better game. It would. If they stopped buying it and they waited like 2 years, 3 years, it would be a better game overall.
It. What started out as actually DLC for Modern.
I'd rather play Modern Warfare 3 than Fortnite. I mean, I agree with you. I don't play Battle Royale Fortnite, but I am playing the crap out of Lego Fortnite, Super Dave.
Modern Warfare 2 2022 got turned into a
Ground War. Thank you, Krebsy.
fully fledged new premium release, and the results in this so-called Modern Warfare 3 were disastrous. The single-player campaign is as unremarkable as it is short. The multiplayer component feels like a letdown, and though the open-world zombies experience is just okay, it too can also get a bit repetitive.
When he says repetitive, I mean, obviously repetitive is, it's every game. Repetitive is a game. Gaming itself is repetitive. Doesn't matter if you're playing Monopoly as a board game, playing cards, right? It's like, oh, I don't like playing cards because it's repetitive. You deal cards out, you pick them up, you play the cards, you put them down, and rinse and repeat. Like, all games are repetitive. The fact, though, is if it's fun, and if it blurs the vision of you being repetitive, if you could look at a game and go, it's repetitive, you've seen, in my example, my analogy is you've seen the man behind the curtain. You've seen the Wizard of Oz, right? The great and powerful Wizard of Oz is this great and powerful wizard until you see the man behind the curtain, okay? That's what happens, and that goes different for everybody. I might play a game for like 1,000 hours. Someone might play it for 10 minutes and go, it's not for me.
Number 13, Ravenbound.
Monopoly is a fighting game. You're not wrong there, Mo. You're not wrong there. Yeah.
Systemic Reaction's open-world roguelike is not without its merits, and from its combat to its Scandinavian setting to some interesting enemy.
Wait, what game is this? Ravenbound. Okay, Ravenbound.
Ravenbound. Systemic Reaction's open-world roguelike is not without its merits, and from its combat to its Scandinavian setting to some interesting enemies to fight, it does have a few
The gameplay, actually, like the fighting mechanics, looks actually pretty fun in this game.
things going for it. Ultimately, however, it buckles under the collective weight of its many flaws. Its open world is vast but feels lifeless and dreary, and doesn't really offer much in the way of engaging content, while it also has issues with its loot mechanics, repetitive quests.
I hate that when you have a big giant world of map and it feels bare and boring, right? That's the problem that people are having with Starfield. I think Starfield would be a better game if you got rid of 900 planets, right? You got rid of like not 950 planets. Hell, 980 planets. If you got rid of 980 planets in Starfield, at least day one here, okay, then it would be a better game in my opinion. Okay, what happens is when something is so big and vast, people get bored because they're like, because they assume if you go to like one planet that the next planet is going to be just as boring, and that's the problem. It's the vastness of it. Same problem with No Man's Sky. Got 1 trillion planets, but you've been to one planet like this, you're like, I've been to that planet, I don't need to go to the next planet. So you just kind of like travel through space until you take a mission that makes you go down to that certain thing.
A lack of quality of life features, and a general and significant lack of polish, amongst other things. Number 12.
How are they going to expand Starfield, though? How can they make 1,000 DLCs? No, but what I think they could have done, they could have added a planet, a different system. That would have been cool, right? The DLC takes you to a different quadrant of the universe of a planet that has more fined, handcrafted area type of thing. That's easy for them to do. I think 1,000 planets, but I think they do the 1,000 planets because I do believe that they're going to have a co-op server thing, multiplayer. I believe in that. And we'll see if I'm the smart man going forward.
Of ED0 Zombie Uprising. ED0 Zombie Uprising certainly has some interesting ideas on paper, and in terms of its atmosphere and its blending of a zombie apocalypse with a roguelite experience, it does deserve some credit, even if it's on a conceptual level. Playing the actual game itself, however, tends to be
This game doesn't look very good.
an excruciating experience. Extreme jank, clunky controls, terrible visuals, and a repetitive central loop are its biggest issues, but certainly not the
This looks like an old like PlayStation 2 or Xbox 360 era.
only ones.
This is the worst games of 2023, Water. That last game we just saw was Edo Zombie Uprising.
Number 11.
This one's Crime Boss Rocky City.
Crime Boss Rocky City. Crime Boss Rocky City tried its best to build up hype by touting AAA production values, a star-studded Hollywood cast, and the promise of thrilling co-op heists. Ultimately, however, it's disappointing.
Those of you that are just coming in, this is the worst games of 2023 by Game Bolt. So we're just watching this.
How broken and vapid it turned out to be. Whether it's the overall structure you're looking at or the moment-to-moment gameplay, the game feels bland at best and sloppy.
I'm sorry. I'm going to go back to that little fight scene that was happening here.
How broken and vapid it turned out to be. Whether it's
Look at this. NPCs behind the trash can.
the overall structure you're looking at or the moment-to-moment gameplay, the game
Is that your partner?
feels bland at best
No, that was
and
the
sloppy
enemy.
at worst. Neither its single-player offerings nor the co-op content it packs are ever able to rise above mediocrity, and even that's just being generous. Number 10, NASCAR Arcade Rush.
Looks terrible. The game NASCAR in the arcade back in like the 90s looked better than this.
There's certainly a lot of appeal to the idea of a NASCAR game that
First of all, if it's NASCAR, there's no such thing as a right turn. This game's trash.
takes the license and, instead of a racing sim, combines it with a Mario Kart-style arcade racing experience. But NASCAR Arcade Rush spectacularly fails to make good on that promise. Though passingly enjoyable on a superficial level and in very, very short bursts, thanks to its lack of content and an overall lack of depth across.
You know what's actually a good racing game? I played with my son this weekend because he got to play Fortnite. And let me tell you, he's loving Lego Fortnite. He's loving the rocket racing that's inside Fortnite where you just race. he mastered it, and he's working up his ranks in the rank section of rocket racing for Fortnite. Like, he knew about the drifting and whatnot. He took off, man. I was just like, man, all that drifting in Mario Karts paid off.
The board, there's very little here that will keep you engaged in any meaningful way. Number 9, Quantum Error. 2023 was
Quantum Error. That door opened, and I was like, ugh.
a good year for horror games, though we did also end up playing quite a few shockingly bad ones. Quantum Error is one of the best, or worst as the case may be, examples of that. Its promise of a cosmic horror experience.
It's a good game, Vandal. It really is. It's a... If you like Minecraft, if you like Valheim, if you like those type of games, okay, it's a really good game. It's different than what those games are. Like, if you sleep, it doesn't pass time and stuff like that. But for early on, it's a really good start off point for Legos. It's the best Lego game, survival game that they've made, or survival besides the Lego games themselves. It's a really good game. It almost reminds you playing like the Lego movie. And the updates that they've been doing to it, they've make quick fixes, and I'm excited to see what they add to the game going forward.
That takes inspiration from survival horror classics is certainly an intriguing one, but from its bland combat and unengaging story to its dated design and a litany of technical issues, the game has too many significant errors.
Everything is awesome.
Pardon the pun there, that collectively outweigh its strengths by quite a margin. Number 8, Cricket 24.
Cricket 24. How many people were playing this game? I didn't even know there was a Cricket 23 or 22 or 20. Cricket? How long does a game take in this? Someone taught me a couple years ago that cricket takes days, could take weeks to play a game of cricket. I was like, days? So how long does a game take in this?
Cricket fans have become used to not having much to fall back on in the video game space, but one would have hoped that at least in a World Cup year we'd get half a decent game. Sadly, it wasn't to be. Now, there's some fun to be had in Cricket 24 for fans of the sport thanks to a solid, if
He says you gotta know what crumpet is to understand cricket.
Remarkable core foundation, but on top of feeling like a shockingly minimal upgrade over Big Ant Studios' last cricket title, it also feels like a decidedly hollow and rough experience. Number 7, Overpass 2. When the original Overpass launched in 2020,
Overpass 1 came out, meaning it sold enough copies to make an Overpass 2.
it was one of the worst games of its year, so expectations from Overpass 2 weren't high exactly, to be putting it lightly. Sadly, however, it follows in its predecessor's footsteps by offering up a shockingly sloppy and unenjoyable experience. There isn't much content on offer either. The moment-to-moment driving controls tend to land somewhere between mildly annoying and downright frustrating, and there's a distinct lack of polish.
From just watching this video, it feels like the speed of the thing is not even... Like, it doesn't feel like that's how fast you're going.
That pervades the entire experience. Number 6, Grey Hill Incident. A survival horror game where you're fighting aliens instead of zombies or monsters sounds like an excellent idea on paper, but Grey Hill Incident does nothing of note with that premise. Plotting combat, horridly stilted controls, shockingly bad writing, incohesive storytelling. You think of a game-breaking issue and...
Oh my god. This is a game that came out this year?
Grey Hill Incident has probably...
Yeah, that was funny when he hit him with a bat.
Cohesive storytelling. You think of a game-breaking issue and Grey Hill Incident has...
It's like he nudged him. He barely touched him.
Probably got it. Now, we're all for cutting some slack when a game is clearly a lower budget indie effort, but the faults here are just too many and too significant to overlook. Number 5, Flashback 2. The original Flashback, which released...
Now, Flashback, I didn't hear of this game, but looking at this, it reminds me of Ascent. Ascent was a fantastic game. This looks interesting.
all the way back in 1992 isn't the biggest or most prominent game by any means, but it's a cult classic that holds a special place in many people's hearts. Flashback 2, however, is a transparent attempt to leverage that love for the first game to make you buy
This kind of reminds me of Shadow Complex, if you guys remember that game.
something that deserves absolutely none of your time. From game-breaking technical issues to horribly plain and dull combat, from baffling design decisions to awful combat, Flashback 2 is riddled with unforgivable issues from top to bottom. Number 4, The Lord
Lord of the Rings is number 4 on this list.
of the Rings Gollum. Daedalic Entertainment has a history of developing solid, if unremarkable, stealth games, so the idea of a Lord of the Rings stealth
When this game came out, you're like, this is hands down the worst game of 2023. And then there was 3 other games that came out and said, hold my beer.
title by the studio where you play as Gollum was an interesting one. The end result, not so much. The Lord of the Rings Gollum quickly became an industry-wide laughingstock upon its launch earlier in the year, and bombed so horribly both critically and commercially that Daedalic ended up shutting down all internal development on future projects. That should tell you something about just how bad Gollum was, in case you haven't played it yourself, and just to be clear, you shouldn't.
Yeah, the next 3 have to be The Walking Dead, Skull Island. Well, I'm sorry, Skull Island, Walking Dead, and The Day Before.
Number 3, Stray.
What? What? That means one of those 3 games I just named wasn't on the top 15. Oh my God.
Souls. We've mentioned a couple of pretty awful 2023 horror games in this list, but neither of them can compare to the unbelievable depths of incompetence that Stray Souls consistently embraces. It's nothing short of an incoherent mess, and all of its
This looks terrible.
stark issues are made all the more frustrating by the fact that it actually shows some signs of promise in its prologue. Beyond that point, however, it consistently remains a broken, convoluted, messy, unenjoyable experience with little to no highlights to
That could be, El Dente. That could be.
speak of.
All right. All right, so that means The Walking Dead game's number 2. That means Skull Island's got to be number 1. I think you're right. Day Before is probably not even on the list.
Number 2, The Walking Dead Destinies. The Walking Dead has had horrible luck with video games, but never has
Vandal, you made this game too? Look, this is a friend telling you here. Just stop making games. If you made both those games, just stop. Go find something else to do.
it sunk such
Unless this is just a fun little thing that you do in your spare time, then that's fine.
low depths. The Walking Dead Destiny certainly had an intriguing premise, with its promise of letting players change the TV show's events through their own actions. But not only does that
Don't be like Naughty Dog and work on something for 10 years, right? Cut your losses and move on with your talent.
come to nothing, the rest of the game is also embarrassingly low quality across the board. Its visuals would have looked outdated even 2 decades ago. Its stealth and combat mechanics, when they work,
You want to play a good zombie game? State of Decay 2. That's a good game.
are mind-numbingly shallow. Its pitiful attempts at storytelling are stilted and awkward, and those are just its most prominent issues. Number 1, Skull
El Dente says if you made those, please stop on whatever you're working on next. Oh man.
Island Rise of Kong. If for some reason you've developed nostalgia for the era of gaming that used to be characterized by hastily put together licensed cash grabs, you'll absolutely love Skull Island Rise of Kong. You cannot be told how bad this game is. You just have to play it for yourself. And we would recommend that you don't, because it's an absolute
Did he just say if you like cash grabs?
love Skull Island Rise of Kong. You cannot be told how bad this game is. You just have to play it for yourself. And we would recommend that you don't, because it's an absolute and utter failure.
You have to play it for yourself, but we recommend that you don't, because it's absolute garbage. I love it.
In every way possible. Whether you're talking about what passes for its attempt at storytelling, its very dated visuals, its broken gameplay mechanics, its bland mission design, or any number of its many, many issues. So, what are your thoughts?
I just realized something after I just listened to the top 15 list. I just realized something. Okay, I just realized something. Do you know why Skull and Bones is coming out in February? You know why Skull and Bones is coming out in February? I'll let someone take a guess. Anybody have a guess why it's coming out in February? Close, Vandal. That's exactly right. Nope. Not a chance to make money. Nope. Nope. Well, not even because it's overshadowed, but that's a good guess. Right? Because it's made by Vandal. Vandal. That's the best one he's made, though, so far. So give him credit. Give him credit. No, it's so they can bury it. It comes out in February, and by summertime, you'll forget about Skull and Bones. And by this time next year, you'll be like, Skull and Bones came out in 2024? Like, you will forget about it. It will be gone. They will not, you will not be talking about it. I'll talk about it because this is my channel. You guys are going to really enjoy Skull and Bones. Trust me. Reese says, I've already forgotten. I've already forgotten about it. We talked about it 20 minutes ago. I've already forgotten about it. Oh my God. Yeah, Skull and Bones is going to be... I can't believe that Gollum came out. Gollum came out. And we thought that was the worst game of 2023 until the next game came out, which was like a month later, which was King Kong. And then The Walking Dead came out. And that's a toss-up right now. The Walking Dead or King Kong. And then the day before came out. The day before came out and closed its studio 4 days after. That's crazy. Well deserved. I don't think that's ever happened before. I don't think that's ever happened before. A game launched, and 4 days later, the studio closed. At this time, any bad game, we just blame Vandal. Yeah, going forward, that's it. Vandal is the problem. All we had to do was make Black Flag 2, slap Skull and Bones on the cover, and the biggest fumble in gaming. Is it the biggest fumble though? I don't know if it's the biggest. It is mind-boggling though. It is mind-boggling. They're like, what about if we took the greatest game mode in Black Flag, make it a standalone game? Everyone's like, that's amazing. Yeah, let's do that. And then we add microtransactions, and they're like, no. And then we make a loot system, and they're like, just stop. No. It was good at Black Flag, just standalone game. Fantastic was run by volunteers. Well, no, I had two guys, Krebsy, that were con artists from the start. I was just going to bring that up, Water. I was just going to bring that up. Take a game mode like Squadrons, right? I was just going to bring it up. Like, they could have done what Star Wars did with Squadrons. Take a game mode out of a game and make it a standalone game. Squadrons doesn't look that bad now, does it? I know Akuta Papa loves Squadrons because he's a flight pilot. You know what I mean? Like, he loves his aerial type of games. But I hated it. I would rather play Starfighter Assault, right? Because it just felt good, action-packed, good gameplay, where Squadrons became very, like, try to do what TIE Fighter did back in the old day. And to me, I don't think they did it very well. Reese says it's one of the biggest fumbles. Had they dropped it a couple years after AC4, made similar, it would have been a massive success. You guys keep telling me about Ace Combat. Yeah, Rose, I think it was okay. I just hated how they made the flight mechanic in that game. It felt slow. It felt slow for what it was supposed to be. I don't know. Even when we played Star Wars Battlefront 2 a couple weeks ago, and we were playing the Starfighter Assault, it just feels good, man. It feels good. Play Ace Combat 7? Maybe. Ace Combat was too hard for me. Skill issues. For some reason, in my head, when I think of Ace Combat, okay, I think of landing in Top Gun. You guys remember Top Gun? The old school Top Gun? I feel like trying to land... Two don't correlate, but when I think of Ace Combat, I'm having flashbacks of Top Gun landing. I think you like it better though, Akutapapa, because you actually have like, correct me if I'm wrong, when you played Squadrons, you have a flight stick and everything like that, right? When you play Squadrons, you have your full set like setup, right? Which I think maybe that's the problem with me. I just have a controller. That just talking about it right now, Rose, I'm having flashbacks. I'm having a little, like, in my brain right now, I'm like, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why you enjoy it more than the average person. That, and I think because you're also, that's what you're interested in. If you play Ace Combat using the meta quest in virtual desktop mode, perfection. Can I just use, I will try it, Water. Can I do Ace Combat and just use the normal controller in my arm, like the meta quest, like to move? Like that's the I can't pronounce, I can't say it. The yarn. Light stick? Jesus. Yep, you can. Yoke. Thank you, Quintar. That's what it was. My brain just like, it's because I was thinking of Top Gun. I was having a brain hemorrhage. I used to play Halo 1 on using the joystick and laptop track pack. Beat on Legendary with both. Oh, so this week, we are leaving to go down to visit the family, right, for holidays. And so I don't know if I'll be back next week. We might stay down there for a continued week. So there probably won't be any kind of gameplay, and I'm going to try to go live, but I'll probably only go live on my mobile device if I do go live. So there won't be any scene switches, won't be any snow melting on my screen. There won't be any kind of thing. It'll just be me live talking about stuff if I do go live. But it's going to be really hard because my son doesn't know the difference between me working or me not working. He's like, oh yeah, I'm part of the show. Yeah, no dribble. Yeah, no dribble. Yeah, but how would that work? If I go live, you won't see my face, though. How would that work, Water? I have no idea. No, it wouldn't work. I just go live on my cell phone or my tablet. Maybe I'll go use Sarge's computer. Ace Combat 8 is out for 2024. All right, let me look it up. This Ace Combat. Let me look it up. Ace Combat 7 came out 4 years ago. Jesus. So I can play this. I can play this on the MetaQuest. Just to let you know, Travis, I was already doing that before you said it. I don't want to give you a big head that you told me to do something. I did it. I was already doing the gameplay before you said it. Is there an Xbox Cloud app? Is it work for MetaQuest 2 or just MetaQuest 3? Go by Project Wingman? Yeah, but I think that's only for the MetaQuest 3. I saw your post the other day, 2 and 3. All right, let me look this up. Let me look this up. What's it called? The Xbox app? Cloud app? Is that what it's called? Xbox Cloud Gaming app brings Game Pass to MetaQuest VR headsets. Do your own MetaQuest 2, 3, or Pro headset streams set up into also experiment. As outlined, the post on MetaQuest website, the xCloud Gaming beta app was released on MetaQuest Store earlier this week on December 13th, and it allows Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscribers to jump into an enormous variety of games on their supported VR headsets. You'll also need a compatible controller as well as a solid internet connection for the best results. Users won't actually need an Xbox controller in order to play, neither according to the post on PlayStation 4 controllers or Nintendo Switch. Pro controllers work just fine. Okay. So I can actually... Oh, well, that's even better then. Because before, during Thanksgiving, I was leaving my computer on as a test for a couple days, like 3 days. I didn't like that, but I was doing a test. I did my virtual desktop, right? Because I also wanted to play video games through the computer. But now I can do it just through the app on the actual MetaQuest. I'm gonna have to download that. Yeah, that's how I was doing it anyway. Travis says, don't worry, 30. My ego is already uncrushable. I know. That's why I poke. Gives you like a 100-inch screen in the space age, like surrounding play of Xbox Cloud. Oh, we're gonna have to try it out. Have to try it. Oh, did you guys see? Let me show you this real fast. I did this the other day. I did a small clip. I did a small clip of it the other day. We were playing Lego Fortnite. On, not responding. I made a flying machine. This is my first attempt as a flying machine inside of Lego Fortnite. Now, it's glitchy as hell, okay? Because you're not supposed to be doing this, okay? But I made thrusters where you could turn and whatnot, and it's pretty fun. Now, this is not in survival, or this is not in creative mode. This is in survival. So I had to get the resources and do all this stuff, okay? So I have 3 controllers in front of me, right? I have this one, which operates this engine. This one operates this engine. And then this one operates all the engines underneath, okay? So if I want to go straight, I got to hit the left and right at the same time. Pushes me forward. If I want to turn, I just hit the left or right. Right now, I got shot down. It broke my... I don't have any more materials. So I actually crash landed inside the desert board. And I came across a board that I had to... It's stranded out there now until I get the supplies to fix it. Right, I try to land up on top of the thing here. I don't know if I do it in the video or not. This took me a long time to figure out. Have you killed Luke on it yet? Killed Luke? Like Luke Skywalker from Star Wars? Or, oh, you're talking about Luke, Mr. Luke. No, he's in my server. He's in my server, though. Dog Gaming. That's who you're talking about. It's actually pretty... now, I have a different version that I come up with, which turns better than this. See, the balloons are only there to kind of soften the fall when I'm coming down. They're not keeping me afloat. The engines underneath keep me up. And then the balloons are there enough to keep me... I don't want to float up in the air. I want to kind of so I can land on the ground. But see, I went all the way to the desert, and then I made a U-turn. But here's the bad part, right? The bad part about this is because it's not in the game, right? You're making this, and if you put anything to, if you build anything on the platform, it all attaches. So if I pull one lever, all the jet engines move at once, okay? So the jet engines in the back that are shooting out, you build them up, break them, and then they fall on top. So they're just floating on top of the base. And then you have to make fences to like hold them into place. But what happens sometimes is all of a sudden they break the fences, If a bad guy shoots you, it breaks and it shoots off. And then in survival world, you have to have the resources. You don't get the resources back if your engines break or the balloons break, right? So you have to go find the more resources to do it. So in my chests on my ship, I had the resources to make enough stuff, but I didn't know it would break so easily. It's very glitchy until they actually make a better way of flying. I don't know why Fortnite made anything that touches the base like operate. So if I put a jet engine on the top of this railing, it's going to activate with the main switch. If I put up on the roof, it's going to activate with the main switch. I don't know why they did it that way. I want them to kind of make something where I can make really cool things without doing it this way, because it literally breaks the game. Yeah, I have the other version I have now, Akutapapa, is that I made the engines up front. So when I turn, it turns much sharper. Okay? But the problem is I need to make it where it doesn't... I have no room to put chests and stuff down. I made a real simplistic version of it. But I love it. I love stuff like this. Yeah, there's a steering wheel coming in, Eclipse. But they still need to put some sort of rudder in it, you know what I mean? Or something. I don't know if I land in time. Yeah, but you see, I'm trying to land it. So I'm coming down nice and soft. And all the balloons do is soften the landing. And this is where it goes bad, because then the skeletons break my ship. Like, shortly after this recording, they popped the balloons and stuff, and I was... Yeah. But I'm liking it. I've been playing a lot of Legos. It's like a spaceship using the engines as thrusters, right? You need 5 engines, 2 on the back, 2 on the sides, 1 up the front. The problem, though, is connecting all of them to get the thing. Otherwise, I'm running around the ship. I put the things right next to me, so I have access to all the controls. If I put up on the front and the sides, you have to run. It's not like Redstone in Minecraft. You have to run a piece to you so you can activate it. So. And then you got to protect your balloons. Right? You got to protect your balloons. So now I have an idea of building a place, and then all weight is distributed in here as well. The more you add to it, the heavier it is. The heavier it is, the more balloons you need. So I was thinking of building a box. Okay, building a box, and then within the box, put all the balloons. So they're protected by the outer wall. Right? And then build on top of it. That's what I was thinking of doing. Well, Akutapapa, if you want to join, I don't know if you want to play tonight. Do you want to play more of Lord of the Rings if you can? Or do you want to play Lego? You let me know. I'm good with either one. With either one. I've learned a lot. I started a world with my son on his world, in his thing. He's having a blast. He's having a blast. He's like, this is so cool that I can have a companion. He likes you get the villagers, and you can make them go out with you places. He's loving it. And he really likes the rocket racing. And he keeps asking me, I didn't know this. This will be the last thing I talk about before we go. As a founder of Fortnite in the very beginning, right? I went in on it with one of my ex-mods, Tally and El Dente. We went in together and bought the whole big Fortnite expansion, or whatever, not the Founders Pack, whatever, right? 3 of us went in. It was a cool thing because then we all got the game and then we all, you know, whatever. So years later, I had all these characters from Save the World and whatnot, and then I have other ones that I've earned, whatever. My son's brand new in Fortnite. He's never played Fortnite before, so he downloaded it, got in, and he has no characters. So it was like default characters, but he didn't like it because he just had girl characters. And he's like, I want a boy. He's like, is there any guys that I can be? And he's like, can you gift me something? I was like, no, it's not like Minecraft where I can gift you, or Minecraft Dungeons where I can gift you a guy, a person, or gear. I was like, you can only be who you have and you have to earn it. And he's like, I don't understand. Can I buy it? So there's no way of getting the older characters in Fortnite, right? I was asking in Discord and Sean was trying to help me. There's ways to trade. I can buy him something, but he wants one of my characters and I'm not using the character and I would like to gift it to him, right? Gift it to him or trade with him. Is there any way, those of you that know about Fortnite, is there any way for me to give one of my heroes, one of my characters to my son? Or is that it, right? Because it's an older character and it's not for sale. So I can't gift it to him, but he wants one of my characters. Is there any way to do that? Well, if you don't want the villagers in your way, Akuta Papa, like on the workstations, make 2 workstations. And then put it somewhere where they can't get. No trading. I thought there was a way to do it on PC. And these mornings fly by. Almost 3 hours. No, it's when I'm building. I've been pushed off. They stay where it needs to be. Put the parts. You need logic system to make them stay out of your way. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like you're about to put a plot down and they walk in and then it says you can't place it. Yeah. I know what you're doing. Well, if anyone wants to play with us, this is what we'll do. I want to play Lego Fortnite tonight, right? On stream tonight. So if you want to play Akuta Papa, you're more than welcome to join in. And anybody else that wants to join, you're more than welcome to join in. We have multiple key holders that are on. So if you're on their friends list or my friends list or whatever you want to join in, you can play with us. There's a free character right now. It's a male. If you have to do to the quest to unlock it, but no, you can't give him a character, but you can also gift him a character with money. Right. He is working towards that character, the one with the long hair, with the yellow on. He's working on that. He's working towards that. The one I want to give him, he wants the red trooper. He wants the red Star Wars trooper, and I want to give it to him, but I can't give it to him, and I can't buy it for him because they don't sell it, right? And that's my issue. Is there a way to get like the red trooper? You need to spend money. Well, I'm okay, Dupless. If I have to buy it again, if he wants that character, I'll give it to him, right? I'll buy it, but I can't buy that character. This is why I want to know if there's a trade thing or if I can give one of my characters to him. They don't sell it. Oh, so they do come back around, Eclipse. So that you could go buy that Star Wars trooper again, but it comes back around. Outlaw says you would have to wait until it comes out in the item shop. Okay, so there are other characters in the past that come back in to the thing. Okay. All right. So there is a chance that it comes back in the item shop, and you got to check every day to see if it's there. Got it. Got it. At least there's some sort of way. Yeah, Vando, if you want to come in and play with us, you're more than welcome to come in and play. Tomorrow night, we're about to wrap up today. Tomorrow morning we have this show again. Tonight we're playing video games. Tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. I don't know if we're doing the interview in the beginning or in the middle or near the end, but we watched the video last week from the Kingard. Okay, he had a video of don't pre-order 1 and 2. We watched both of those on the stream. I reached out to him, and he was willing to come on the show. So we're gonna have a conversation with him. I'm gonna interview him, get to know him a little bit on stream tomorrow night, 8 p.m. during that stream. He might be here for the entire time. He might be here for 30 minutes. Okay. So whenever he feels comfortable, how long he wants to stay on for, he's more than welcome to stay the whole time. If he wants to stay for 30 minutes, he's more than welcome to stay here for 30 minutes. But we're going to interview him. We're going to have a good conversation with him. And then after the interview, we're going to play some video games. So that'll be tomorrow night. We're interviewing the Kinger, who has really good videos. If you haven't watched it, it's the Kinger, Kinger. Or is it Kinger or is it Kingerd? Hold on one second. Let me bring it up. I think it was King Nerd. Kingerd. Yeah, it's Kingerd. E-R-D. Yeah, so this is the person. We're going to be, he'll be on the show tomorrow evening, if everything stays on plan. So we watched 2 of his videos last week about don't pre-order type of stuff. So, but he will be on the show tomorrow night. Fortnite main stage seems to be getting peripherals. Yeah, they're making their own, and they said next year they're going to be letting you use the ones that you have. So if you still have a guitar out there, I think you can hook it up to it. Yeah, most of the time when the Star Wars comes back around, all of them, like Darth Maul, only ones you can't buy is the ones that you had to unlock in the Battle Pass. Ooh. Wasn't that red one in the Battle Pass? I think he was in the Battle Pass. I think he was in the part of the Battle Pass. This is the guy that my son wants. He wants this one. He wants that guy. Oh no, he wasn't part of the pass. That's good. Yeah, but this is the one he wants, which I can't give him. Like, I don't want it, and I'm okay just taking it and going, here, take it, right? Oop. What just happened? Wrong one. Sorry. Did they, but the Guitar Hero and Rock Band IP from Activision? I'm not sure. Yeah, they paid really good money for it. Yeah, it says Epic Games has bought the game developer behind Rock Band and Guitar Hero Harmonix. The two companies announced the acquisition separately. That was back in 2021. Epic Games requires Rock Band developer to work on Fortnite. Harmonix's team will be collaborating with Epic to create musical journey and gameplay for Fortnite per its announcement. The studio noted that it still plans to move forward with Rock Band release slated in 2022, and that it also continue to support its older games. Epic attributed the acquisition needing Harmonix's expertise in music creation and distribution as it works in the building out the metaverse. Harmonix has always aspired to create world's most beloved interactive music experiences. By joining Epic, you will also be able to do this at scale. Together, we'll be pushed to creative boundaries of what's possible and innovate new ways for our players to make, perform, and share music, he continued. Epic has been expanding its focus on music in Fortnite, an in-game Rift Tour concert series, which is also already Ariana Grande, Marshmello, Amor Take, Virtual, and Eminem did it recently as well. There you go. That was back in November 24th of 2021 when they made that announcement. So 2 years. They've owned it for 2 years. I think I still have my guitar. I don't know where the hell that is. Be great. I gotta remember where it is. Did I throw it out? I don't think I would throw it out. Gotta be in one of my boxes. All right, chat. I do appreciate everyone coming out, hanging out with us today. If you liked any part of the show, make sure you hit that like button down below. Leave a comment down below on any of the topics that we covered. Also, if you'd like to go above and beyond it, hit the subscribe button. We're here live Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. We're going to be doing live shows. We do uploads. We do gameplay in the evening. And we also do finish off the week with a podcast on Thursday nights called Generation X Gaming, the weekly podcast. It goes over a few of the top stories from the past week, and we rant along the way. 30 and Still Jamming, name of our band. I like playing the rhythm stuff, man. I don't know what it is. My son's terrible. That's one thing I can beat him at right now. He's like, I don't understand. I was like, it's super simple. You give me that guitar, man. I used to do it on supreme difficulty. I would jam on that thing. I love that whammy bar and stuff I used to have. It was great. What a simplistic thing. Just so much fun. All right, you guys have a great rest of your afternoon, day, evening, wherever you are. We'll be back tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, for some Lego Fortnite survival. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.